Finally, a pro wrestling discussion show that's civil and constructive, introspective and informative. Mr. Clean and Springsteen, the Bald and the Beautiful, Final Bell Media and the Juice Box present Drew and Juice. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this very special collaboration here.
Come on, Juice. Come on. A little bit more effort.
What do you want me to do?
What's up,
Welcome.
everybody? There you
Hello.
go.
We have a great collaboration right here that we have done before in the past on my shows, on Drew's shows, but now we're just kind of throwing it out to the universe, as it were. A little Drew and Juice. You know, some people like gin and juice. I like Drew and Juice. Personally, Drew, how are you, man? What are we doing here?
You know what, Juice? I'm good. I'm so excited. I just can't hide it. I'm about to lose control, and I think I like it.
Yeah, I mean, that's all pretty good. I don't know how long this show's gonna last. Maybe it'll be one episode. Maybe it'll be 43 episodes. Maybe it'll be 83 episodes. Who knows how many episodes it's gonna be? But look, Mr. Clean and Springsteen, the Bald and the Beautiful, we are here, Drew and Juice. Let's do this, man. What do you want to talk about first? AEW, WWE? Should I?
You know what? The floor is yours. I'll let you ask whatever you want, and then we'll open it up to some questions. I see Tay-Tay. I see Corey. I see South Memphis. I see Jay. I see Phil.
Wow.
We're gonna answer a bunch of questions. We got a lot of people in here. Truly humbled.
Yeah.
There's over 100 people watching right now. And we just got on the air, so
cool.
This is for y'all. We're gonna have a civil discussion, and we're gonna go from there.
That's right. You know what? Dynamite just happened last night. A lot of people, even hardcore Dynamite AEW fans, the sickos, if you will, seem to have a little bit of a problem with what happened last night. So let's dive into some AEW, shall we? First and foremost, go ahead.
Before you jump into this,
Sure.
You know what I have a problem with? I have a problem with Tony not putting back on that opening video with the song. If I was Tony, and I'm not, but if I was Tony, Mr. Khan, what I would do is I would have came out or had a prepackaged video, and I would have been literally singing. I don't know if I would have been singing, but I'm petty like this at times. I would have sat back and been like, Tony with the black screen behind him, and he goes, I'm so excited. I just can't hide it. I'm about to lose control, and I think I like it. A couple more bars from there, and then I would have said, welcome to Dynamite. And
just lean into it, right?
Yeah, fuck them.
Yeah, exactly. People have been complaining, but here's the thing, Drew. People will complain no matter what you do, no matter how many great ideas, how many terrible ideas. There's always going to be a pocket of people that don't like what you're doing. And, you know, that's going to be the same thing with us. I'm sure people aren't going to like what we're talking about, but here we are, and we're going to talk about whatever the hell we want to, because it's our discussion, the community discussion. This is collaborations, not, people attacking people for no reason, screaming about topics for things that they hate. Or what they might like even. This is just civil. How hard is that, Drew?
I'm not going to sit back and call you an idiot or tell you should, not watch my stuff because you don't agree with me. At the end of the day,
you can call me an idiot. That's fine. I don't take offense.
We are watching, whether it's WWE or AEW, Ring of Honor, New Japan, your sister's ass, whatever you're watching. Realistically, you're watching it for your entertainment, right? And if you're not entertained, then change the channel. Don't watch. I get it. And a lot of people look, well, people aren't watching. Well, I hate to tell you.
I want that voice to come out more. Whatever that was.
I hate to tell you, but that's not a flex. Like, you shouldn't watch things you don't like. You shouldn't do things you don't like. You know what that is? That's called misery. And I have no time to be miserable. None. Zero.
That's
zilch.
Right. Life is too short to be miserable, especially about pro wrestling when that's supposed to get you an escape from your real life, And it's like, why are we wasting our time going crazy over stuff that's supposed to give us joy and happiness? We use it as an escape from our jobs and stuff that sucks. Why are we then going to complain? Well, wrestling sucks too. Okay, well, then you're just miserable, like you said, Drew, and you shouldn't be watching it. Watch something else.
Are we pausing on the whole your sister's ass comment? That's because I'm from the East Coast. Somebody.
That's fine. I don't have any siblings, so you can do whatever you want with your sister.
Whoa, no.
Hey, well, I'm sorry. You're in Minneapolis or Minnesota. You're not in West Virginia. That's another topic.
Yeah. Lean into it, Tony. Don't give in to these morons who
Lean into
complain.
it.
Lean into it, brother. Just sit back and be like, oh, you don't like the Pointer Sisters? You're not excited?
They should play it at the beginning of the show. They should have it to close the show. They should use
I want
more
video packages with the Pointer Sisters. That's what I want.
Yeah, they're doing. Hey, that's the thing is that Tony Khan, this has always been his baby. It's his money. It's his show. That's my biggest critique of fans that are like, oh man, he's only doing this and this. And okay, but I think you're just not you, Drew, but if you're just jealous that you don't have the opportunity, you don't have the money, you don't have the flexibility, the creative freedom, and the liberty to do anything as a pro wrestling mark. And
there's a lot. Yeah, there's a lot of discourse on that. There's a lot of people who I think are in total bad faith. I think a lot of people hate the people that are in position of power, whether it's Tony or whether it's, somebody who writes for AEW or whether it's, somebody who's in creative or whatever. They all sit back and and I get it. Like, you should be envious of some people because you want that position or you want to have that life, but to make it your whole persona. And, they out themselves. If you listen to people enough and you let them talk, people out themselves when they speak. You got to listen.
Yes.
And I saw some guy on social media being like, yeah, my dad, was a millionaire, but he wasn't a billionaire. Otherwise, I'd be running a wrestling company. Yeah. And if my aunt had wheels, she'd be a fucking bicycle. So what are we talking about here? All right. Move along from it. You're not a billionaire. Daddy didn't give you money. I'm sorry. Get over it and either enjoy it or don't.
And the people that are complaining about it have a platform. So be grateful that you have that platform because of other people putting on great shows. Come on. It's all benefiting the community as a whole. You got to do something to help this guy, and it's all commutative. It's ridiculous to gatekeep, to think that you're better than anybody. Come on. What do we do? It's 2025. It's a new year, Drew, in the same bullshit.
Yeah, and you guys all want to play in the same sandbox, and that's the thing, right? That sounds like a 2000 Taz line. Shout out to our producer. Listen, Taz is a dog. Taz was a dog in ECW. He was one of the first believable wrestlers that I thought was on the planet. But that's the thing, Juice, right? Everybody wants to play in the same sandbox, and it's funny, right? It's funny to me. These people who go on here and they talk all this hot shit. They get on here and they yap and yap and yap and yap and yap. If they got hired by AEW, New Japan, TNA, FML, whatever, right? They would sit back and get to a writer's room and they'd be like, yeah, we're going to do this today. And those same people who bark so loud on the internet would just be like, yes, sir. Okay, that's sir. Right. I mean, because you can't go in there and you don't want to just slam your feet on the desk and your hands and say, this is my idea and it's better than yours. But at the end of the day, a lot of you would flop on the deck like a fish. Just chill. Just chill.
It's all about perspective. And we all know, if push came to shove and this an imaginable person came into a chance of okay, Tony Khan's going to give you an opportunity. Are you going to tell him the same thing you just said to all your people? Probably not.
I'll be honest with you, with that type of stuff, there's a way to go about things with being respectful, and there's a way to go about
constructive criticism, not disrespect.
I help run a ticketing company, right? And I've
managed through, baby.
Get through. And I was the senior vice president in one. I was the co-owner in another. And for me, I always said, let's collaborate. If you come in here and you want to confront, the door's right there. We could either be collaborative and we can have a conversation. But when you start to confront, I'm done.
Collaborations, not competition. That's what I say.
CJ gets it like Officer Doofy. Bingo. Reporting for duty, sir. Yes, exactly.
So we want to talk about some pro wrestling, Drew?
Yes. That was the opening rant. Go ahead. Let's do it.
That's right. A nice soliloquy by Mr. Ticket Drew. How about that? So let's talk some Dynamite. So like I said, even the sickos had some problems with what happened last night, but I felt last night was pretty decent. There's some stuff that I like to say, and I'm sure you'll have the same sentiment. Let it play out. Let's see what happens. How quickly people just dive off the ship when it's just the year just started. This is a brand new year of fresh storylines they're building. Let them know.
It's lowbrow, Juice. It's so easy to do it.
Of course,
it's just
lowbrow,
this sucks. Okay, why does it suck? Well, it sucks because they're not giving me what I want. Okay, well, you're a spoiled kid at Toys R Us. What else you got?
Okay, Batista. Yeah, give me what I want.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, so here's the thing that happened last night that I felt probably triggered a lot more than anything else. Hobbs, Powerhouse Hobbs, getting
Sure.
an opportunity as the number one contender for the AEW world title. Even at the end of the show, when, you know, a lot of people have been saying it's going to be Cope versus Mox, and likely that will happen if down the line Hobbs got saved and they helped each other out. And Hobbs is kind of built in the story from there. My issue with what happened is fans want new stars. Then they are given new stars with new opportunities. And then those same fans hate that because it's not their guy or it's not the person they think it was right. So
Right.
what about you, Drew? Hobbs, number one contender. And it's not like he's number one contender for the whole year. He gets a
Right.
match and we'll see what happens.
So, you know, for me, I'm a big fan of Willie Hobbs. Powerhouse is the dog. The dude looks like a star, acts like a star, and he is presented like a star. So, yeah, I'd love me some Willie Hobbs. Felt Willie was very underutilized. And I felt like this was a nice surprise. I would have liked to have seen Jeff Jarrett because I would have liked to have seen Moxley kill him, truthfully.
Sure.
Put him on a stretcher, have Karen Jarrett screaming, him bloodied, all that other stuff. All this for not, you know, like he was coming back to win the championship, blah, 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 and then gets crushed by Moxley. And you get a ton of heat on Mox. So for me, I would like that. They went with Hobbs. I don't hate it. Here's my thing. If they're going to do this with Hobbs, I want them. It's all about what they do after the match because Hobbs is not winning the AEW World Championship, in my opinion. If he does, I'll come on here and say, hey, you know what? This big bald bastard was wrong, just dead wrong. But I will say that I don't think Willie's winning the World Championship. If he does, whatever. But I will say that I would like to see them do something. It's all about what they do after with Hobbs. Hobbs is a monster, okay? Powerhouse, right? Let's keep him in that realm because you got something with Will. So for me, Maximum Carnage, it's all about how he loses and what he does afterwards. Give him a title run with something else. Make him you know, an indestructible force at times. And then we could build towards the world championship, maybe a year from now, hell, maybe 9 months from now, who knows? But Hobbs is somebody that I could easily see them strapping the rocket to, but they got to do it right on Wednesday and then build towards it afterwards. He's not winning the championship, but I'd like to see what they do afterwards.
And that's the thing. It's never about what's next. It's about what's after next because wrestling never stops. There is no off season. You need to be building consistently. You never know who's going to get hurt, who's going to be over, who's going to lose the audience. It's a consistently changing business all across pro wrestling. And you can't just be like, all right, well, this is the guy and that's it. Like you have to have plan B, plan C, other ideas. And Hobbs is a guy like right there. He's a younger guy. Let him have a chance. Like, who did these people want to see? Like
right. And
the same guys that have had the opportunities already?
You said that at the beginning. It's, you know, for me, it was funny. I did a show and it was like the state of AEW, right? And I said, a lot of you never wanted AEW to get better, or you never wanted AEW to succeed. You just wanted WWE to get better and have Vince out of power. And that's what happened. And realistically, everybody fell off. They complain when they push the older guys. Now they're complaining when they push the younger guys. It's a lose-lose situation. And again, I've said this and a lot of people have been like, are you crazy? AEW reminds me of that time period where WCW is kicking the shit out of WWF and they had to pivot and go to different people and the steroid trial in the 90s and all that other stuff. That was like 93, 94. They put the championship on Brett. They would have never done that had they not been on trial for steroids. Never, in my opinion.
They were pushed to a spot. They had to pivot, and they pivoted, and it was a smart decision. And they learned from that.
So for me, they're pushing younger stars, and now it's a problem. Or they're pushing different guys or girls, and it's a problem. Make up your minds. Enough with this stuff. You know, some of this stuff, some of the booking is not for me. You know, like the private party
supposed
stuff.
To be
right. The private party stuff for me. I wish that we had more to sink our teeth into with private party, like the championship. They won it. And now I can kind of see where it's headed. We're going to give it to the Hurt Syndicate, but man, you know, the Outrunners were hot. I like me some FTR, some other stuff. For me, that's one of the things where it's like, if you're going to do something, you're going to build younger stars, which I dig, and give people an opportunity. I dug them changing the championships to private party, but then afterwards, what are we doing with them? You know?
Exactly. And that's, you know, we'll talk about this other point here. I have here that, you know, the AEW tag division, in my opinion, needs a little bit of a refresher, and they're starting to do that. Private Party gets the championship, Hurt Syndicate now. Maybe they're kind of going away from the Swerve thing because Swerve's going to be dealing with Ricochet, but now you get Bobby and Shelton as a tag team potentially, and that's good too. But again, like we just said, what's also after that? How many other teams can you build? Will the Outrunners get that chance? The Acclaimed are splitting up now. Like things are all, it's all gears in the wheel, all spokes kind of changing as we speak. And as a guy that loves gin and juice, Private Party is a perfect tag team for me. And I like what they do. I like them walking. I like their little entrance last night with the rope and them doing handshakes with the security guard. And I dig the whole thing. And we'll
Let
see.
me reiterate. I have no issue with Private Party. I thought the tag team championship victory was awesome. I loved it. The Bucks put over Private Party and they went and handled their own stuff in Japan, blah, blah, blah. But they have really done nothing, in my opinion, of substance with Private Party. And that's my problem. The Outrunners were hot. Returning FTR. This Hurt Syndicate makes a lot of sense too. There's other tag teams in AEW, but man, I would have liked to have seen Private Party have a feud they could sink their teeth into, not named, Leo Rush and Action Andretti.
Man, we talked about it with the pointy coats.
The puffy coats.
Hey, that's a Seinfeld thing, but yeah.
So Scott Steiner's got a good head on his shoulders here. Big Papa Publisher hookup, obviously. But I like the Von Erichs. I know one of them is hurt. Big fan of the Von Erichs. Saw them in Texas, hung out with them a little bit in Texas. They are a very, very good tag team and a tag team that I would look to build around. And I would love to see the Von Erichs win the tag titles in Dallas, Texas at All In.
That's what I was going to transition to as well. We got early. I want to just, they have this big banner now that says AEW All In. Normally they've got whatever their next pay-per-view is, and they do promote it. They got Grand Slam coming up. They got Revolution coming up. But the fact that they have this big banner for their biggest show of the year, it's going to be in the States instead of at Wembley. So it's a huge deal. I was just going to say that. If Von Erichs, a team like that, you get them going once everybody's healthy. Why not have them into some sort of match at Dallas? What do you foresee? I'm not asking for any, crazy hot takes or on the nail predictions, but what do you see as the AEW All In Dallas card to shape up eventually here we're in 2025 now.
Yeah.
What do you see as something that really wants to anchor that card? Because regardless of tickets, and you're a big ticket guy, what do you think they'll anchor that show with?
So, if I had the pen or pencil, there's a couple things that I would do for this show. We'll get into the ticketing thing here in a minute because I think they did well, but I think there was a missed opportunity for them, they being AEW, and I think the industry as a whole needs to take some advice, and they need to really get their finger on the pulse because a lot of things are not selling the way they should, WWE included. Now they're white hot, but a lot of their major markets aren't selling as well as they would want them to off the gate. I will say that one of the matches that I want to see and I think they should build around is Kenny Omega versus Kazuchika Okada. That's one of them. The other one that I would really like to see, truthfully, Copeland's got to have a big match. Okay. So for me, who that opponent is, not quite sure. I would love to see, this is just me, I would love to see maybe Copeland and Christian get back together and have them take on FTR and the Bucks maybe in a ladder match or just a tag match or whatever. I think that's big money. You could have Cope in a singles match, but for me, I think there's a lot of meat on the bones of a lot of different things here with Copeland, Christian being one of them. And again, Darby might be fighting for that world championship at All In. I could see that too, because they kind of alluded to it. So if we're going there, we're going there. But if we don't go with the Copeland Christian reunion, I could see Cope and Cage. I could see
Cope and Cage.
I could see Darby taking on whoever the world champion is at that point. Okay. Moxley, whomever. Darby winning and then Christian Cage cashing in, so Darby only gets a very quick run or moment. Because I said this to a buddy of ours, Blake, previously. I think Darby is Tony's version of Tommy Dreamer for ECW. So, and Blake said the same thing.
I can agree to that. And Tommy Dreamer could never beat Raven, and then he finally did. So Darby maybe not getting that world title opportunity. That's directly a parallel, but it's quite similar. And I like your idea because initially I was saying, I just don't see, and that's a good idea too. Monet versus Athena would be killer. I'm sure.
Yeah.
How about, I'll tell you this. Can we have more than one women's match at All In Dallas? That would be nice. They have
they will.
Loaded
they absolutely
ass roster.
Will. I understand people's outrage on some of these things, but I think at times it's just like clickbait bullshit. Don't get me wrong. I understand maybe they need to be given more time, but Mercedes and Stat had a lot of time on the last pay-per-view and they killed it.
Longest match on the show, I think.
Yeah. And you know what? I'll be honest with you. Like this, I love me some Mariah May, but Mariah May is not going 25 minutes. Like we can knock it off with this shit. Seriously.
Yeah, probably not. She's just, that's not her bag. So back to what you were saying with Cope and Christian. When you said tag team initially, I was thinking, okay, but at this point, I don't ever want to see Christian Cage as a babyface ever again. I have no desire to see that where he's at. And then you brought up FTR. It's perfect for Cope to, hey, he changed his name. He changed his character. Maybe he changes his feelings towards FTR if they piss him off. And he turns heel on them, joins Christian. I'm in for that, man. I would love a heel Edge and Christian, revamp in 2025. I think that'd be pretty cool. So I'm actually here for that. And throw in the Bucks for a ladder match, triple threat ladder match at All In. I'm sold. Put me there.
I'm gonna say, I think there's a lot of money in FTR turning heel. That's just me. I think there's a lot there. Okay. I think FTR could turn on Cope, and I think there's a lot of money there because realistically, I just think that's something they could do. Whether they do it or not, who the hell knows? But I think that's something they could do.
I kind of disagree. I think FTR is more like, to look at everybody, like I just said with Christian, I think everybody would boo him regardless. Like they wouldn't really buy it. And I think FTR, it would be tough for fans to boo them after what they've done for this company since coming into AEW. So to me, it's way easier to boo Cope and for him to turn on them in some way, and to align with Christian of all people after what Christian said that first time they interacted. I feel like it would be perfect, especially since they are a natural tag team and you get the payoff there. So I think either way would work. And like, this is what I always talk about on the Juice Box when I do that show. It's best when we don't know, but there's so many ways they could do it. It makes wrestling great. You have to guess. We don't know because we don't know.
I think Daniel.
We don't.
Yeah, I think Danielson's somebody else who's going to be on that card. I think Brian probably wrestles once or twice a year, at most. And I would love to see maybe Danielson take on. I don't know. Maybe we could do Danielson Cope, or if he's not in that tag match, or we could have, Danielson. I don't know. It really depends, like where we want to go with it. But I think that's another. Danielson against somebody is a big match. You got to have the right opponent, but like you could have even Danielson versus MJF if you wanted to go that route again, or Danielson versus Swerve again. Danielson Ospreay. It really depends. Like I definitely want Okada and Omega. I think we should build around that if I'm AEW. But yeah, there's a lot of big matches they could have. Eddie Kingston too. He's another one.
Speaking of Kenny Omega, this is another thing I'd like to discuss with you, Drew.
Sure.
I tweeted this out because I've been thinking about it since he's been on his way back. He's so beloved. Why can't Kenny Omega be the Sting of AEW, where everybody's behind him? He's always in high-profile matches. He doesn't have to be this, like, it's a new revamped Kenny Omega, and he's always having the matches, not to defend AEW's honor necessarily, but he is the AEW guy. Like, we've all kind of thought, at least I have, to a large extent, he probably would kill it in WWE, but I don't see him going to WWE. I think he's there in AEW to show that being the alternative can be successful. You can have top tier guys that aren't in the major company such as WWE, and you can thrive like that. And now Kenny's back. We saw his pretty emotional promo the other night, and having parts of his intestine removed and all these things. I think he's there definitely reflective of how his life and career has been up to this point. And I think he wants to prove, especially with how he kind of said, I might not be able to do what I used to do to an extent, but I'm still going to go out there and be, the best bout machine that he can be. So to me, Sting in WCW was always that guy. He was always reliable. He's always going to give great matches. He was always someone the fans could rally behind. And lack of a better term, I just think Kenny Omega is the hero that AEW has. No matter what, of all the characters in AEW, he'd be the guy. Drew, what are your thoughts on Kenny Omega now returning, and what do you want to see from him? Just great matches, or do you want to see him challenge for that AEW title? Because damn it, everybody's looking to go for that these days.
Yeah, listen, Kenny Omega is like one of the last people who really are, upon this AEW like originals and kind of like what the
Yeah,
original idea of AEW was all about. So yes, I'm here for it. Also, Kenny came back and absolutely killed it in Japan. So for me, yeah, I would love to see Kenny in the world title picture. We got to get there, and I think that's what AEW is going to do. I think once we get through Revolution, which is in March at
yep,
the crypto.com arena, I would in Los Angeles, California. I would, in thoughts and prayers to all the people who are in Los
absolutely.
Angeles, California, and the surrounding areas. For me, I am pushing Kenny closer and closer to that world championship as we get closer and closer to Revolution. And then right after Revolution, if it's Mox and Omega, cool. I would like to see Cope and Omega. For me, I think Copeland and Omega, you can. I know Dynasty hasn't been announced. I'd book a Canadian venue for that match, and I would have Copeland versus Omega for the AEW World Championship, and that's where Omega wins back the AEW World Championship. That's what I would do it. And I think
Well,
it sells. I think it sells a lot.
it absolutely sells, especially in Canada, and that's a great idea that you had there, Drew. And my next question with that is, where would you see Mox losing the AEW title? Would it be a Grand Slam?
Revolution.
Revolution. Okay, and you just think that would be, who would that be to? Cope?
Cope. If I had the pencil, which I don't, but if I had the pencil, I would have, we get through Grand Slam. Mox could have a championship match. Maybe it's a rematch against Hobbs in a gimmick match or something. I don't know if you want to beat Hobbs twice, but what I'm booking towards is Revolution with Cope taking on Moxley. Moxley drops the championship to Cope. Kenny is next in line. We have a month and change between we get to Revolution, or from Revolution to Dynasty.
Yeah.
And I would book a Canadian venue or somewhere close, Buffalo, whatever. Minnesota is close enough to Canada.
Oh,
and I
don't
would
work
have
yourself
Cope
into
versus,
a shoot, Drew.
brother. Yeah. I would have Mox drop the title to Cope, and we'd have Cope versus Omega, the AEW World Heavyweight Championship, because I think everyone wants to see that match anyways. And at the end of the day, you could say that Adam Copeland was a former AEW World Heavyweight Champion. When everything's all said and done, he hasn't held a world championship in, I think, over a decade. So it's a feel-good story. Yeah. And Omega gets his title back. And I think then we're off to the races. And no, it's not going to fix everything, but I think it changes the landscape and the dynamic.
And I mean, it would really solidify Cope as a legend, as his creative wording on his shirt said the other night, which, we all kind of had a chuckle with on Saturday night during that Spaces. This is something that I saw this on Twitter the other day, and I was like, okay, we've really just lost control of original thoughts, or like, maybe it's me being older now. Maybe these younger fans are just like, whoosh, like it goes over their head. What are your thoughts on people that complain that the AEW like main event scene is just former WWE guys? Because to me, how long do you have to be an AEW instead of WWE to be an AEW guy? FTR has done, in my perspective, a lot more now in AEW, and they're very close to surpassing that revival stage. And Cope will probably never get to that edge stage of what he did in WWE, but to me, it doesn't matter. Mox, I think, is more AEW than he ever was Dean Ambrose to me.
For sure.
He has carried AEW on his back. He's been the most reliable guy that they've had. So just in general, Drew, what are your thoughts on some fans taking that of like, oh, it's only former or WWE guys? Because to me, forever, everybody switches everywhere. Very few people. Sting even went to WWE.
Come on. The whole like former WWE stuff, it was the same thing in WCW, right?
Yeah.
Hogan goes over to WCW, Hall and Nash go over to WCW, and WCW was afforded a giant luxury that AEW will never be able to get, because no one of that caliber is heading over to AEW from WWE. It's just not happening. You're not getting Cena, Orton. You're not getting, Roman. I mean, we could knock it off. And at the end of the day, there was a lot more gas in Hall, Nash, and Hogan's tank than there is with Cena, Orton. You probably get a lot out of Roman. But
oh my God, for me, that'd be the craziest thing in this planet.
Right. For me, it's just like, I hate that narrative. It's what they do when they get over to the company. Moxley is, I think, carved out such a path in AEW, and I get it. He might have drew more money with the Shield in
course.
WWE because
No
that's
one's
a
denying
machine.
that.
That's a
Yeah.
machine. But I mean, that's not the end all be all. When I look at Mox, don't get me wrong, I see him as Dean Ambrose in the Shield because that
Sure.
was what's very, very, a prominent figure. But I see Mox more than I see Ambrose. I see Moxley now than I see
Absolutely.
Ambrose. And I think Moxley is an AEW guy. I also believe Hangman Page and stuff like that. I have a short list here. For me, it's Takeshita, Omega, Hangman Page, Swerve, Fletcher, and Hook that are guys that I'm looking towards. And I'm looking towards, doing things for AEW. And I think that's the way it should be. I obviously have Will Ospreay on that list as well. That's a given.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But do I think like the whole narrative about former WWE guys? Look, a lot of those guys have a ton of visibility, so they'd be stupid not to use it. Bobby Lashley comes in with a ton of visibility. A lot of people know who he is. A lot of people know who MVP is. So for me, for AEW to ignore the visibility or try and change it, that's just stupid. It's buffoonery.
And it's been happening forever. Do you think people are really going, wow, I can't believe Tyler Black switched his name and now he's this traitor, Seth Rollins? No one is saying that. Like, I was upset when Kevin Steen went to WWE and had to change his name, but you know how quickly I got over that when I realized his son's named Owen. It's a thing for Owen. It's like a homage to Owen Hart and like all these things. Like, things change. Move with the times. Everything is not the same when you were growing up. Get over it.
Why would you not want two companies trying to sign talent, right? Why would you not want the owner of your companies that you love or root for or will plant flags for or pretend that you're a part of their team? Why would you not want the owners to go out or the people in charge to go out and get these high profile free agents? That's what good owners and general managers do, right? So Kenny Omega was available, AEW pounced. Will Ospreay was available, AEW pounced. I mean,
Bryan Danielson, like,
Moxley,
are they going to
Copeland.
not? People want an alternative, and then they grab some of the biggest people you can get that are just free agents by way of contract. It's not that they're saying I love AEW more than WWE. Forget WWE. Bryan Danielson can go to WWE and have his Hall of Fame ceremony anytime he wants. It's never going to change, especially now in this regime. There is no weird animosity of like, oh, I don't know if they'll take me back, because they took back Warrior. They took back Bret Hart. Like, it's over. It's a different regime, man. So it's ridiculous.
Again, they have a ton of equity. These guys who came from WWE have a ton of equity. They're on television. Television time is the biggest currency that WWE provided them. And Tony Khan AEW would be stupid not to try and, capitalize off that for sure. And like I said,
business.
Will Ospreay is the guy, in my opinion. So is Takeshita and so is Omega. I love me some Fletcher. Big Swerve Strickland fan. And AEW should build around those guys, hangers as well. And they should build around them. And if you got to feed former quote unquote WWE guys to them, so be it. You know what Copeland does if he wins the world championship and drops it to Omega? It passes a lot of equity to Kenny Omega, who really doesn't need a ton of it, but it's just that little extra notch on Kenny's belt. And then we're off to the races. Same thing with MJF, It's another guy. You gotta build the company around him. And you've got to be in purposeful storylines for me.
And especially now when you consider that at any time, if these guys go over to WWE, they're going to take advantage of it. A guy you just mentioned, Swerve, was kind of the best part of Hit Row there, but it was still kind of muddied in mediocrity. He goes to AEW. He's a world champion. He's having great programs with Hangman, one of the AEW pillars. And now it's like, well, I don't know. He was better off here, or these guys are better off. Shouldn't you want your any company not to be tribalistic? It's not your company. You don't own it. You just watch it. Blake.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I don't get it. I never will. There's a lot of people who are like, oh, Kevin Owens should have never re-signed with WWE. Well, Kevin's in a main event storyline right now with Cody Rhodes.
He only brought Steve Austin out of retirement for a main event match at WrestleMania. What his career is in the toilet.
All right, I will say this. Kevin's done a lot in WWE. So if he jumped over to AEW and wanted to make a boatload of money, work reduced rates, and go work with his buddies, he deserves it. If it happened, it happened. It's not. Clearly, he's with WWE. Styles is another one who a lot of people talk about. I could see Styles going over to AEW if they're going to offer him a boatload of money. I haven't seen AJ doing anything right now in WWE. Has he made a Hall of Fame career in AEW? Yeah. Or in WWE? Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, he has. And he's a mainstay. He's a big household name. But I will say, you know, Kevin's not going anywhere. And who cares at this point? Was there a chance? Sure. But I mean, like, I don't lose sleep over this stuff. I played sports at a high level, and I have other things in my life that I don't like. This stuff doesn't bother me. Like I don't get it. I don't understand why people. I don't think and the reason why I bring up sports is because I don't think these people were ever in a locker room, or they were ever, around other like major athletes who made decisions on what they were going to do with their life to better their lives or their family or their financials. Like at the end of the day, if the boys and girls in the companies are making fun of you guys and girls online for the way that you act and the tribalistic nature that you have, that should tell you everything you know, because they're both rooting for both companies' success.
And you deserve it because you're being ridiculous. And again, this is pro wrestling. The fans should be excited because pro wrestling is super hot right now. It's streaming on Max. It's streaming on Netflix. Things are changing for the better in 2025. Why would you want to just knock it down and be like, well, it's not to my liking? Okay, then stop being a fan. I stopped watching wrestling for 4 years because WCW went out of business. And then I saw that No Way Out 2005 was coming to Pittsburgh. And I was like, damn, wrestling still is progressing without me watching it. That's pretty interesting.
Hold on, let me see if my memories. Damn it. That was it had JBL was the promo with the barbed wire steel cage, right? That was the picture.
Yeah, Big Show chokeslammed him through the ring, and JBL escaped under to win the match. Yeah.
Okay. All right. There you go.
But so I knew that happened, and then I bought WrestleMania 21 on pay-per-view. I was locked in. I bought Cena's CD, and I have not stopped watching wrestling. This year will be 20 straight years since, I kind of got back in. So,
and you want to know what's crazy is that, like, you don't think Tony's going to throw the bag at AJ Styles if he even remotely comes available, if he could have a conversation with him.
Yeah.
Tony is a big wrestling fan. Like he is. He likes Ring of Honor, New Japan, all that other stuff. And WCW, WWE, I'm sure he watched it all. But at the end of the day,
he was at Chris Jericho's final ECW match.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, like if he can go out and get a star the caliber of AJ Styles, I think Tony's going to do what he can to get him. And he should.
And it would be derelict of duty to not go out for that. Like, why would you not try to benefit your business when you have the opportunity, you have the pencil, you have the checkbook? Come on.
I've been called the derelict once or twice in my life, so I appreciate
derelict Drew. All right, let's talk about some more interesting AEW topics before we dive into the Fed, as they say.
Oh, Jesus, please don't call it that. I hate that.
I said as they say. I don't say it.
All right, okay.
MJF and Jeff Jarrett, baby. Where are you standing? I'm not even going to give my opinion because you already know I want Jeff Jarrett to. I don't care if it's for 5 minutes and someone catches in on him. I want Jeff Jarrett to win the damn world title because he's done everything in his power for every company he's been in. And I think the business is better off with him in it. Thoughts with him and MJF? Is this a waste of time?
Your last line was great. The business has been, it's been great that Jeff's in it. In 2025, Jeff Jarrett being a world champion anywhere not named TNA or Ring of Honor is absolutely asinine. I love Jeff. Jeff's a good dude. Made a lot of money in the industry. Hats off to you, Jeff. JEFF. I loved him in WWE, and WCW and all that other stuff. Like Jeff just knows how to make a buck, and I commend him for it. But no. Fuck no. No.
No. Well, what are your thoughts that MJF is taking up his time here? Seemingly,
I'll write something real quick, even though that's not my profession. I would have Max. So, I would say the sooner we can get away from this, the better. But I will say that if we're going to do this, fine. I'm talking about Max and Jeff.
Right.
If we're going to do this, fine. I could do this over 2 months, Australia and Revolution. And then what I would do is maybe have Jeff Jarrett sneak a win in Australia, kind of like a roll up or a small package. And he beats Max, and Max is like, oh my, like, you got to be shitting me. And then basically Max.
So you think that happens first? Just a one-on-one between these guys happens first. Okay.
Yep. And then I think we get towards Revolution where Max is like, dude, that was a fluke, blah, blah, blah. You'll never beat me again. And we get into Revolution and Max beats the holy hell out of Jeff. Basically what I said about Mox kind of, absolutely obliterates him. Like we see a new edge to MJF, and MJF takes Karen Jarrett. That's what I would like. And he goes around, he's got Karen Jarrett at his house. Karen Jarrett is his new lover.
Oh boy.
Karen Jarrett is this and that, because that gets Max a lot of heat. And it also, Jeff could get pissed off, but I would have Jeff maybe out of action for a month or two, whatever. MJF finally gets his world championship opportunity, and who's there to screw him? Jeff Jarrett. And, we could keep the championship on whomever it is, whether it's Omega or Copeland at that point in time, or even Mox. That's what I would do. But I would definitely have MJF kind of stealing Karen Jarrett after beating the holy hell out of Jeff. Basically have him take him out on a stretcher, however we get there, however you want to do it, blah, blah, blah. But MJF and Karen Jarrett, where Karen's, smitten over MJF, and that's, their new lover. That's what I would do.
A couple of things. You keep bringing up MJF as Max. There has to be a streaming service, Max JF, some type of shirt, or they have to have something collaborative.
Max on Max, baby.
Like that. Yeah, it's genius. I don't know what they could do, but hey, maybe you're on the cusp of something. The other thing is, hey, don't count Jeff Jarrett out when he has the ultimate equalizer, the guitar. Just saying.
Again,
you can win any match with that.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind, like I said, 2 months. MJF gets a lot of heat if he, takes out the legend that is Jeff Jarrett, and then swoops in and steals his wife, and his wife is smitten with him, and MJF's just an asshole and kind of like, shut up, bitch, like that type of stuff, like go make me a sandwich, that type of stuff. Well, that type of stuff.
Oh yeah, it would work. Of course it would get.
Well, I'm saying it would work. It's heat. It'll definitely work. That's what I would love to see. I'd love to see MJF take Mr. Steal Your Girl, take Karen Jarrett. And
Karen, that's the best part, is that Karen would be into it. She would want a younger guy. MJF is that guy. Oh,
that young stallion.
MJF gives her the diamond ring.
Diamond ring. See, that's what I'm saying. And that was my next point. Like MJF swoons Karen Jarrett, right? She cars, money, scarves, the ring, all that stuff. Yeah, it works.
They do the Ric Flair Miss Elizabeth photo shoot by the pool.
Yep.
I can see that. Yeah,
feeding them grapes. Yep.
And then they find out
that's what I'm saying.
It's just someone else that was doing it the whole time.
Yeah, if we're gonna do it, we got to do it, and that's what I'm doing. Like if we're going full bore with this Karen or MJF and Jeff Jarrett thing, give me Karen Jarrett and have Max just Mr. Steal Your Girl.
I'm here for that, man. And look, that's what we were trying to get when we do these shows, is fine. Let's come up with some ideas. You have some stuff, I have some stuff. We might not hit on any of it, but together.
Listen, old man, I took your career and I took your girl. Your girl is
it'd be funny if we called her the
double N
instead.
Double E.
Oh,
gone.
There you go. Oh, there's a lot to play there. There's a lot to play there. And again, Jeff Jarrett. The only thing I will say, Drew, I'm glad you're bald and you kind of just live that way, because damn it, Jeff Jarrett's dye for his hair, that was bad enough. Did you see the dye he did on his mustache?
Yeah.
It looked like Big Bird. It was that yellow. It was crazy.
Hey, brother, better be careful with them yellow mustaches. They're not getting cheered nowadays.
No one's getting over with that stash. Last thing I want to touch on with AEW, this is a topic that I've been interested in, and we just had one. We're going to have another one. What are your thoughts on the Casino Gauntlet match as a match type? I think it's really cool. It's practically a Royal Rumble at random time intervals, and it can end at any time. So instead of wanting to be last, you want to be first. It's been intriguing, and it's been a lot. And now we get a women's one. What are your thoughts?
And there's no set participants. It just keeps going.
Could be anybody.
Going. And that's why I like it, dude. That's why I like it. It's a unique concept. I think it's one of the unique things that Tony Khan and whomever else came up with. Pat Patterson back in the day came up with the Royal Rumble, and it's a genius idea. There's a whole goddamn PLE circulating around it.
We'll talk about that later in this show.
Yeah, that, goes towards WrestleMania and stuff like that. And I really like it. A lot of people think it's overused, and I think they should stack marbles on the freeway, because at the end of the day, we need more.
There's one Drew
need
drop.
More. Well, I said if my aunt had wheels, she'd be a bicycle too. I think that's another one, but all right.
I'm waiting for the cigarette backwards.
Well, that's come. A lot of them just like to complain. Do I agree at some point? we should be building more number one contenders and it's an easy way out sometimes. But at the end of the day, like I really like the concept. And if it works, it works. You know, I get it. They don't want to beat it into the ground, but I dig it. It's so fun. It's a fun match. And you can't say that last night didn't have a bunch of heavy hitters in it because it did.
That's the best part. And I believe our friend Blake posted that normally it was be a bunch of jabronis and maybe 3 or 4 people that you could conceivably think would win. Now it was like, boom, main eventer. Jeff Jarrett's in there. All these different guys are coming out. And it's like, well, I mean, I could conceivably see any of these guys winning this damn thing. Drew used to stack marbles on the freeway. That's why he says it all the time. Well, you know what you know. I think he knows that you muted your mic, Drew.
You don't want to stack marbles on the Long Island Expressway. You don't want to do that.
Oh, that's a good. There's a Seinfeld reference in there when Kramer goes and picks up Jerry, and they're like, "Well, I couldn't get the top back up," and Elaine's like, "Well, it's cold outside." And Kramer goes, "Oh, wait till we get on the expressway."
Yeah. So I dig the concept, and there were heavy hitters in it. So for me, it works, and it continues to work. And I'm glad we're seeing Women's Casino Gauntlet. You know, the one thing I will say, is that I don't know where we're headed. That's the beauty of weekly episodic television.
Absolutely.
But I will say I would have liked to have had the winner of the Casino Gauntlet for the men. Obviously, if it was Hobbs, giving him a title opportunity at the pay-per-view would kind of be like, I don't know, let him have the match on television. It's free, all this other stuff. But I would like to have seen both Casino Gauntlets with the winner getting a shot at Grand Slam in Australia. But I don't know what they're planning for Australia. So I'm going to sit back and watch just like everybody else.
Right. And I mean, I've been saying this with AEW since its inception. We've never seen a company just start off and be at the top, TV, all these different things. So we have to let their match types grow and their creativity flow. And it's been 5 years. Let them come up with more things, and then maybe they'll eventually hit. If this Casino Gauntlet thing really sticks and they don't want to use it all the time, maybe they'll consider it as a one-off per year and make it more stakes. You know, they do that with the ladder match with the chip, the casino chip.
Yeah.
You know, they have stuff like that. So they're coming up with things. Give them time.
Yeah.
Let it play out.
Not every concept works. It's called trial and error. God forbid they miss. God, don't
worry, they're not going to do the TNA reverse battle royal where you have to get in the ring.
That's just dumb.
You were not watching the doldrums of TNA like I was. I was hook, line, and sinker on those ideas. Although King of the Mountain's a damn good idea, and they're using partial parts of that in the what's the match? Oh, the Iron Survivor match. They're using the penalty box and stuff. Yeah,
don't know anything about that because I had a life. I really wasn't watching TNA.
Oh, come on. Well, that's how. Why do you think I'm such a big Jeff Jarrett fan? All he did was win titles in King of the Mountain matches in TNA.
Well, yeah, because he owned half the fucking place. So.
Well, you deserve it. You earned it. You deserve it.
Well, yeah, I deserve it because I own it. I own it. So
that's
right. I get it. Yeah. Listen, Jeff Jarrett. God bless him.
So let's any final little pieces on AEW before we kind of transition to the world of World Wrestling Entertainment?
No, I think AEW, a lot of people were like, this show was trash last week or this past yesterday. And I don't get it. Like,
I'm happy that finally maybe they're just saying that instead of just, I prefer some people be negative instead of always be positive or always be negative. Because it was the people that I'm always seeing are positive are like, man, last night sucked. Good. Maybe they'll win you back next week.
Yeah, I mean, listen, there were some things that I was like, okay, but I thought the show was as a whole good. I mean, like I said, there's some things that I would change, but at the end of the day, I don't know where they're going yet. So just because they don't go a certain direction that I want them to go doesn't mean it sucks. It just means that, maybe it's not for me. Wrestling's best served as a variety show.
Yep, a buffet, if you will. All right. Well,
anything you want to talk about?
With AEW, nothing. I mean, I think we covered practically everything that I had on the table here. There's a lot of things I liked. And again, it's supposed to be a variety. Not everything's supposed to be for you. You're not, even though there's all these episodes, there's Collision and there was formerly Rampage, but all these different shows, of course you could watch them all, but realistically, WWE and AEW are not assuming you watch them all. So when you do watch them, maybe it will be for you, maybe it won't be, but you got to just find that balance. and be a balanced fan. It's ridiculous to try to assume that they're only going to cater to you, and then when they don't, because that's insane to think, you get mad at them for it and become a tribalistic person.
And the other thing for me is like that I want to talk about is Willie Hobbs wins the Casino Gauntlet, and then we have the MJF Jeff Jarrett thing, which is fine. Jeff never got into the Casino Gauntlet, which is interesting. Why is Mox so afraid of Jeff Jarrett? Like, why can't Jeff Jarrett get in there? Because that was I think it's because Jeff isn't what he's trying to pull out of AEW, because Jeff has it. Jeff wants to give back to the company, blah, 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 blah. And a lot of these other people, Mox is saying that they're resting on their laurels, blah, 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 blah. But I will say that I thought the placement of Cope calling out Mox and everything else like that was very interesting. And I thought it was going to really be detrimental to Willie Hobbs and his victory. And I'm happy that Hobbs made the save, because otherwise that would have been all for naught. Hobbs wins the Casino Gauntlet, and they're just like, fuck that guy. Like, Mox, want
see him
you.
in 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's like, geez, Cope, so I thought that was very, very well done. The other thing too, a lot of people are up in arms about Stat winning the number 1 spot. Like, I know that's an advantage, but for me, I almost think it's a disadvantage at times too. So it's interesting how people want it. The number 1 spot in the Women's Casino Gauntlet. I know you get a quick pinfall victory and the match is over.
But if you don't, 40 other people could come down and beat your ass.
Right. So for me, I still think Tony's going to be in it. So I think it's good booking. Tony was like, I don't deserve to be in it, blah, blah, blah. I think we're going to get somewhere where someone's like, hey, you're in. And she's like, I'm in. And then she's going to win it. So I like what they're doing with Tony too.
Yeah. Tony Storm is a revelation. She was the best gimmick that AEW seemingly had. And all of a sudden she lost it. And now her losing it is also another great pivot on the gimmick. So they know what they're doing there. Apply that to more characters. And again, in time they will. And things will, potentially get better to those who grift and hate AEW, because it's not for you. Get over yourself.
Because they make money off grifting. And that's all it is. Like, once there's no more grifting.
It's all about the money.
Where does the grifting, like, what happens when there's nothing else to grift? What happens if they did everything that these people complain about? They'll find something else to complain about, I'm sure, because they're fucking fugazi. But at the end of the day, like, I don't get the whole grifting thing. I never will. And guys and girls, we will take your questions towards the end of the scheduled programming here. So just wait till that. I see a couple people asking about Malachi Black. Make sure when we say, hey, it's time for questions, you get them in and we'll take them.
Yep. Hang tight. We're going to cover some WWE stuff here, and then we'll absolutely open the floor to some questions. So
300 people over. So thank you. Appreciate it.
Hell yeah. Appreciate everybody coming and checking us out. We have been talking about this for a little bit, but we hadn't put anything out there until, last minute, because Drew loves flying by the seat of his vintage pants. So
I do. Well, how do you know my pants are vintage? Damn.
How do you know what I'm doing?
All right.
That's what we do here on Drew and Juice.
All right.
Expect the unexpected. Speaking of the unexpected, 2026, the Royal Rumble is going to be in Saudi Arabia. I don't know if it's going to be the greatest Royal Rumble. I don't think it will be. That was my first inclination, but it seems like we're getting the
They said it's a regular Royal Rumble. By the way, the Von Erichs have officially signed with AEW.
The Von Erichs are all elite. Did you see the Iron Claw?
I did.
How that thing did not get nominated for any Oscar is insanity.
So I have 3 kids, and the ending just absolutely turned me into a puddle. And I'm very hard to like break with that type of stuff.
Yeah.
But hey, I was just, when he was like, what are you so sad for, Daddy? And he's like, well, I used to have brothers and now I don't. And the kids are like, well, we're your brothers. And I was like, damn. Damn.
Just the quote, "I used to be a brother," is insane. Like, it was such a perfect line for that movie. And
that was it. I used to be a brother. And I was like, and then he said what he said. And I was like, I gotta go.
Yeah, I think it's the best wrestling movie outside of The Wrestler with Mickey Rourke. That's a masterpiece of wrestling theater.
The Wrestler was good too.
Yeah.
I remember seeing that in the movie theater. It was good.
Shout out to Marissa Tomei. She's in that film as well. But yeah, let's talk about the Royal Rumble in Saudi. So it's going to be a regular Royal Rumble, but here's my question. There is no date. Does that mean, could we see the first 2-night Royal Rumble in Saudi Arabia, Drew? Why not?
Well, Well, it's a paid show, right? So, I mean, that would be the time to test it out and see if it works because WWE doesn't have to pay for the venue. They don't have to pay for any of that other stuff. So, that would be the time and the place, ladies and germs. So, yeah, I could see
and the
it.
building will have people in it for both nights, no matter what.
Yeah. And people will just be like, hey, look, that was a smash. It's very, very smart. It's very strategic by WWE and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. This is the one event where I don't need 2 nights. This I don't, and because I only, I know Survivor Series is the major, one of the major 5 or 6 or whatever. But for me, Slam, yes, I could see it. I think it's a little bit of an overkill. Yeah, but there's a lot that they could put on Slam that they don't. We saw that last year.
Yeah,
Mania
that's fine
for
with me as well.
Mania for sure. The Rumble going 2 nights. No, I don't need the women main eventing one night and the men main eventing one night. Realistically, just flip-flop it every year. The men, just like the AFC NFC championship games, right? The AFC is the night game one year. The NFC is the night game the next year. Just do that with the men and women's Rumble. All in one night, please.
I agree. And again, with the SummerSlam thing, I was kind of hesitant, but they make it seem like it's the WrestleMania of the summer and you pack a lot of matches in it. I was, pretty thrilled with how the matches were laid out this past year at SummerSlam, but they absolutely could have added more. And my issue with Royal Rumble being 2 nights is they're only doing it from the basis of, well, we can have a Royal Rumble match on each night. Not that we have so many matches and talent that we can put on 2 nights, because WrestleMania and SummerSlam lend itself to it. They are purely saying for Rumble because of 2 big matches. When to me, I agree with you. You have a 5-match card where that leads and ends with a Rumble and a couple title matches in between, especially this year with a ladder match in between. That is going to be a stacked ass card. You don't need 2 nights for that. So cool for Saudi Arabia, but I really don't want to see Royal Rumble go to 2 nights as a permanent thing. I don't want to see Money in the Bank. SummerSlam is as far as I want to see it, to be honest with you. And that might not even work. If it sucks with ticket sales, who the hell knows what's going to happen?
Right. I'm in total agreement with you. I think the MetLife show, obviously, they're doing SummerSlam. They got a nice, payment out of that, site fee for that one as well. So that's the time and the place to do that too. It's all trial and error. They're going to do it here in Minneapolis. It'll sell well. I just think it's
better, Drew. You're on the payroll. You're a Minnesota guy.
It's a lot. It's a lot to ask. It's a lot to ask your father to take you to 2 nights of SummerSlam, especially when it's Saturday and Sunday.
I know. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean,
Blake wants a 2-night backlash, says the producer.
Blake's having a fun time behind the boards tonight.
Yeah, see, you are a sick man, Blake.
He's just a sick guy. So, Royal Rumble 2026 in Saudi. It'll be interesting. I'm here for the 1 p.m. Royal Rumble. I'll tell you that.
I mean, when I first started watching wrestling, a lot of the pay-per-views were at like 3, 4 o'clock. And it was perfect. It was on a Sunday.
On Monday nights.
Yeah, there was. I wasn't watching. I wasn't watching then, but there, I could be wrong, but I'm almost positive WrestleMania 10 was at 4 o'clock start on Sunday.
Yeah, and Mania 9 I think had an interesting start time too because it was in Vegas. And I know Royal Rumble 94 had a Saturday night showing, so they were all over the place in those early 90s. Blake, no, it is the second one because my first lime green Newport hat that you saw got 2 overworn, so I had to repurchase the same exact hat via eBay, and this is the newer version of the hat. Same hat.
Wait, do you smoke? You smoke cigarettes?
Hell no. Are you out of your mind?
I don't know. You look like one of them guys who smokes cigarettes backwards, but all right. Okay.
That's good. Well, at least I wouldn't be smoking it forwards and inhaling all that garbage. So,
So why the Newport hat? Give me back the hat.
I found it randomly at a thrift store. And this is probably 2014, 2015. And I was just like, I like this hat. But then once I started just doing more wrestling things, friend of the show, shout out Justin LaBar, when we started doing chair shot and stuff, it was a hat I always frequented. It just became the hat, and now I wear it to every show. And I wear it
sunglasses, the Kurt Cobain sunglasses.
Yeah, that's the whole deal here with my my gimmick and my gear that I always frequent. So shout out to there you go, Blake. Yeah, that's my thing. This is just an extension of my life as me being a wrestling fan. So the Newport hat will always be on my head. And I have a decent head of hair. No disrespect to you, Drew, or LaBar, or anybody I know that's bald. Blake, everybody.
I've told a lot of people who were like losing their hair. I was like, let it go, brother. Like, just let that shit go.
Do not
'Cause
cling to any scraps.
yeah, you look ridiculous with the comb over, like looking like the dude from
The big
Scary
sweep
Movie.
across.
Yeah, like
Oh,
let it
yeah. Oh, my
go,
God.
dude. We had this professor in college in Providence. Shout out to Mr. Don. I'll just leave it at Professor Don because I don't want his name out there. But he
Mr.
would
Clean.
sit on a projector, right? That's how long ago I went to college. You go to the projector screen and he'd write, right? And his comb over would be so wicked that he had to it would just flip over his head. And he'd have to do one of those. It was just ridiculous. Just ridiculous. So just let it go, dude. Let it go.
Hang up the comb. Just
Yeah.
get rid of it. It's time.
Blake, it is not your choice to be bald. We fought many times. I was like, yo, just let it go. And you were like, nah. And I was like, let it go. You look good bald. Justin, same thing. Justin LeBar said, dude, what
Embrace
are we doing
it.
here? Yeah, embrace it.
Yeah, come on now. All right, so we talked Royal Rumble. Something else that I've been thinking about, because we're kind of getting close to WrestleMania 41. Drew, you're the Mr. Eminent. You're the guy that's in, the pulse of ticketing and where things could go.
Mm-hmm.
What's your early prediction for where WrestleMania 42 takes place in 2026? London. Okay. I was going to say, don't say Minneapolis. We ain't doing this again.
Yeah, I would say London. No, the Minneapolis stuff is dead. I mean, they're giving us a SummerSlam as a consolation prize. And so, it is what it is.
Tell us how you really feel.
Well, it is.
And it's a gorgeous building. It's just no Ubers.
Well, they hopefully have fixed that. I think they have. So yeah, you know what, Juice? The WrestleMania stuff's done. Now here it's done. Maybe a Rumble. We're getting a SummerSlam. I could easily see that, but yeah, we're done with WrestleMania. I think WrestleMania is probably, if I had to guess the next couple of locations, I'm going to go London, Atlanta, New Orleans,
Indianapolis. Has to be, because they're in that they signed that deal. They get a Rumble and then they get a Mania. So I would assume it's going to be sooner than later.
Rumble, Slam, Mania. So Mania is the last, and I think you could have that Mania.
I didn't know it was in order.
Yeah, I think they're going to space them out like 4 years apart too. So you'll have, or maybe even 2. So it'll be a decent time before you get back to Mania or have back in Indy. I do believe. And I'm going to say this. I do believe that Buffalo could get a WrestleMania.
With their new stadium?
I do believe there's a possibility. If they pay the fees, I think it's a possibility.
I was going to say
Stadium too, Denver, that could work.
I was going to say Chicago, as long as they still have CM Punk. Definitely, and potentially Soldier Field. I mean, if you're going to go to Buffalo in that type of potential weather, Chicago is the same type of gig. And Nashville with their new Titan Stadium, I think that's a lock. It's a party city.
Blake's stating the obvious that it's outdoor, but you have to remember that, Nick Khan has said that we would like to make WrestleMania in more attractive destinations. I get it. Buffalo is probably not that. Sorry, Buffalo. No. But I will say that
it'll be rocking on Sunday. I'll tell you that.
Right. And they could push Mania to May. They've already pushed it later and later to April. You get into May in Buffalo, it's not bad. It's not. Just like May here is not bad in Minnesota. But I do think the Minnesota WrestleMania stuff is dead.
No. Yeah, then the new Nissan Stadium, or the addition to it, or whatever they're renovating in Nashville, I think makes it just like New Orleans a shoe-in. New Orleans had 30, it had 34. I think it's a shoe-in to get another one.
Yeah, that's one that slipped my mind. Nashville's 100% getting a WrestleMania. Sorry.
Yeah, but London. So you think as early as next year? Because we all know it's gonna happen. We just don't know when. Same with Saudi Arabia. If they get a Rumble. They got this deal in place. Why not try it? It would piss off a good amount of fans, but do you think they care?
I think WWE is making good on the Royal Rumble because they asked their new contract. They asked for a Rumble or a WrestleMania. I don't think you get a WrestleMania in Saudi Arabia anytime soon.
Oh, I think the fans, a good pocket of them, would be thrilled if that's the case, Drew.
Well, I mean, don't get me wrong. Anything can and will happen in the World Wrestling Federation, but I just don't know yet. I don't think Saudi's going to get a Mania. I think a Rumble. I said a SummerSlam is very highly possible as well. So, and I agree, 316.
Oh, PLE at the Big House. I think it'd be cool for them to do it at Beaver Stadium, Penn State, 110,000. Similar type of deal there. You have a huge stadium like that. Oh, this is what I want to posit to you.
Who doesn't love Beaver Stadium?
I've been saying this for a long time, Drew. I'm just going to act like you didn't say anything like that. This is a family-oriented show. But how about this? Why not Bristol, Tennessee at the Bristol Motor Speedway? They had a football game in the infield. You put WrestleMania there, you could put over 100,000 legit in there.
Yeah.
Why not?
Listen, I think WWE is going to continue to do stuff that is kind of outside of the box. There's rumors circulating the internet right now that they're going to do something at the Sphere. I think that I've said it for months. I think it's possible. I think that, WWE would be crazy not to, since they're in Vegas. UFC ran it. I know it's a loss. It's a net negative. I get it. But for me, you got to do it. I could easily see WWE doing WrestleMania at some crazy locations.
Speaking of crazy locations, they just announced the was it the Cosm, that dope interactive LA
I'll be there.
and Dallas venue.
I will be there in Dallas for the Royal Rumble with Mr. Blake Mitchmore.
Yeah, man. That I saw a video of Colin Cowherd at the LA one watching the Steelers Browns game in the snow, and it looked like he was in the end zone watching the game. So Royal Rumble would be dope. Like any wrestling event, I think would be fascinating because you brought up the Sphere. Why not? You really think WWE would care if they lost for one night money to have the opportunity to be there?
If they do the Hall of Fame or like a kickoff show there, and it's like I said, you could have the people that can't afford to go to WrestleMania or just don't want to because it's pretty expensive out of the gate. You could have them have a watch party at the Sphere and charge people $250 a ticket. I mean, the stuff at the Cosm was like $130 a ticket.
Not bad.
But the reason I'm doing it is because, first of all, it's a once in a lifetime type of thing, right? I'm sure they'll be everywhere, but this is the first time at Dallas and all that other stuff. And realistically, $130 ticket, I'm blessed that I'm able to cover professional wrestling. You get the media pass and they give you a ticket and everything else like that. But at the end of the day, if you go look at $130 ticket for the Royal Rumble, you're up in peanut heaven.
Yeah. Oh, right. If you're actually at the event with the tickets going astronomical every single time, even though WWE then touts, we have the biggest. Of course, it's the most money you made because the prices are going crazy. But I mean, why wouldn't you tout that?
And that's the problem with in my opinion, there's a big problem with WWE is, being afforded a luxury right now because they're so white hot. But I think a lot of, the struggles with AEW, a lot of people want to, in terms of ticket sales, a lot of people want to sit back and say that it's storyline and there's nothing to sink their teeth into. At times they could be right. But realistically, what I've seen is the pricing structure and some other things that go into it are just so far out of whack. A lot of what I've seen trends in the ticketing industry, they put their tickets higher out of the gate for a pre-sale or an on sale. And then they'll lower the tickets, a week before or 4 days before or a day before the event. And that's an issue because you want to know why? You market and you hammer and you promote an on sale time or a pre-sale time with a go buy tickets at that point. And then, a father and his two kids want to go to a show in Indy and they go look at the prices and to sit on the floor is, $400. And he's like, nah, I'm not doing this. And then they never come back. They don't come back 5, 6, 7 days before the event.
No.
You should try and capture as many sales as you possibly can with the right structure out of the gate, because that's when you have the most eyeballs, the most attention on the event. The whole let's charge $600 because people are going to panic and buy. A lot of people are not panicking buying anymore. They changed a lot of people's financial outlook on life and going to events and everything else like that. Stop trying to make the most money out of the gate and try and get as many asses as you possibly can every 18 inches. That's the goal. And the problem right now, in my opinion, is both AEW and WWE. WWE is afforded a luxury. I've said it. They're selling well. A lot of their premium seats don't sell during the initial on sales, minus the first couple rows on the floor, because a lot of people want to be there and have that experience. I get it. But AEW should do a better job with their pricing structure to capture as many sales as they possibly can out of the gate, because that's when you're marketing the most. That's when everybody's has their time and attention on it. Go get the sales. Don't let those people walk away because it's too expensive. Find the right price point. I'm sorry, but $350 for a floor seat for AEW? No.
They just haven't gotten to that point yet. And, eventually you would think that they would earn that and fans would be willing to pay it. I'm sure, like you said, some fans are willing to pay that, but it's not a majority. And then when you have, you have some paper, you paper some of it. It's like, well, you could have had a chance to not have to do that if you just made it a little more affordable for the general fan. And that's who
and my
you
thing
should want to cater to. Not everybody that wants to go to these shows are sickos.
Yeah.
You're going to different
So
towns.
you get so that was the biggest thing with All In for me. Like, I thought they did a really good job with some of the pricing stuff, but I think they could have done a better job when they had all this time, money, and effort spent on a kickoff and all this other stuff with the pricing. With the pricing structure, you could have the floor seats. Some of them were $500. Put them at $220. Put them at $175 and watch them fly. Sure, you might get 10 people who buy them at $250, but how about we get 75 people who buy them at $125?
Why can't you just do row one at a premium and then everything?
And we don't have to.
Yeah,
we don't have to lower them a week before the event or a month out. A lot of people have already tuned out and said, "I can't go to this; it's too expensive." They're not going to recheck the goddamn market. A lot of people are like the company is missing the opportunity to turn a profit with the tickets. They really are.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate because then the discourse becomes, well, look at how many things are tarped off. These fans, there's not that many fans here. And it's like, well, if they just tweaked something a little when they initially put forth the ticket prices, it could have helped. And then they wonder why fans are upset and have that discourse. So it's interesting to say the least with especially stuff like All In. So
I said it months and months and months ago, and I said it even further than that. I said it, I want to say 5 years ago. What are we at? WrestleMania 42? No, 41.
We're at 41 this year. Yeah.
I said it at WrestleMania, right after WrestleMania 35, which was MetLife. I said, go to WrestleMania while you can. And a lot of people were like, why? And I was like, because it's going to be something you can no longer afford. And they were like, huh? And I was like, I'm telling you, this is going to be something where it's corporatized and it's going to cost you an arm and a leg to go, and you won't be able to take your kids. So go while you can. And thankfully, I've worked over 15 WrestleManias, not as a performer, obviously, but as somebody who's done a direct deal with them and who has done suites and everything else like that and had group partnerships and everything else. And it was a blessing. And I'm thankful for it because now, last year was a struggle to do the group stuff. And this year, I'm not doing it. It's insane. We've had suites, we've had luxury seats, we've had group ticketing for WrestleMania year after year after year. Today's, the first year. This is the first year we're not doing it. We're not doing it because it's astronomical. It really is.
It's only going to get more expensive. It's only going to go to places and venues that are more expensive. Vegas is already astronomical. If it goes across the pond and you're from North America, good luck trying to get over there affordably. And it's only going to continue to get bigger. 2 nights already. It's going to be nuts. So like you said, man, it's only going to get bigger, better, and better. To refer to a WrestleMania
I like it.
Phrase there. So
WrestleMania 3, right?
Yeah. At the Superdome. I mean,
Silverdome, brother.
Excuse me.
Yeah, brother.
Let's talk about.
First of all, shout out to, I think it's Ty Schmidt, who did the Hogan thing on Pat McAfee show. It's a fantastic.
Oh yeah.
You got to go watch. No more questions, brother. It was great. Man, fuck you, dude. It was fucking awesome. Absolutely awesome.
Big fan of that portrayal. Yeah. Speaking of some production stuff, because we were talking about tickets and all these things, how did you enjoy the production and how it felt on TV of the first Raw on Netflix? We saw drones, we saw crazy lighting on the seats, we saw camera angles that are just to die for with one show. If they can put forth this type of effort going forward with Netflix, then they'll start doing it for their PLEs. I remember the one they did for the Backlash in Puerto Rico, that drone that flew in all the way through. If they start lining stuff, if they start doing that stuff more and more, they're gonna they're number one. They are number one when it comes to live entertainment. It's bigger than the Super Bowl. It's crazy. Yeah. It's unbelievable.
I'll tell you, I've never been
on that.
I've never been envious of an atmosphere for wrestling because like 9 times out of 10 I'm there. I was at the Manhattan Center. I was at Hammerstein for both ECW One Night Stands like that. We threw John Cena's shirt back. I was right next to the guy who threw it back. Those electric atmospheres you can't beat. I've been fortunate to be at them, and I was very envious not to be in Puerto Rico for Backlash because that entrance with Bad Bunny and the crowd singing Chambea. It was
It
just
was a song they
wild.
already knew. It was
Yeah,
genius.
It was wild, electric, and I was very envious. Your Netflix question, I think the WWE is second to none in terms of this stuff. They're on the cutting edge. They stay ahead of the curve. I think there's more to be seen. I was very, very impressed with the production. Watching it on Netflix, a lot of people were like, "Hey, you don't need the 4K and stuff like that." I will tell you, I thought Raw never looked crisper. They never looked crisper.
And to play off that, watch Dynamite on Max. You will see
God,
AEW in a whole new world, man.
Yeah, I had my brother over on
If you have the capabilities, if you have that that option. Absolutely.
I had my brother over on, when was it? It was the first. It was New Year's Day.
Yeah.
We watched, and I put it on the television, and then I streamed it on Max on the other TV because I have that pyramid downstairs in the man cave.
Yeah.
And it was, the picture quality was completely different. So watch it on Max if you can. It's the way to go. And you can't watch Raw anywhere else but Netflix here in the United States. But that's where you should be watching Dynamite. But Juice, I was thoroughly impressed with WWE Raw on Netflix. It's big business. And realistically, those jabroni marks, as Hulk Hogan likes to say, who didn't understand what the task at hand was for that episode. I get it. You didn't get your precious characters, but at the end of the day, that was a feel-good love story to professional wrestling. Like, hey,
it was episode 1.
Yeah,
come on.
Yeah, right. Here is our shiny toys. Enjoy.
Yeah. This is what WWE can bring to the table, and they brought it. You saw Jey Uso. You saw every celebrity they've ever wanted to collaborate with ever at this show, on this show,
Look at the names, dude. The names out of the gate, okay? Triple H does an intro package with a video, okay? Then we have The Rock's music. Then we have Roman Solo and, John Cena. So 3 out of those 4 names with The Rock, Roman, and John Cena are the biggest visibility people that WWE has. What are we talking about here?
And you had every single type of personality there. You had wrestlers. You made it big to the wrestlers that weren't on the show to be in the show, a front row, enjoying the show. It made
celebrities, Juice.
The celebrities.
That was the perfect time and place for them to be in LA and everything else like that. I mean, God forbid they were going there this week.
Drew. Where did we hear that this first episode of Raw on Netflix was going to be in LA and potentially at the new Clippers arena, the Intuit Dome?
There was a lot of stuff that I
it was you on the Juice Box. So shout out Drew. He had this in September. So go ahead.
How about SmackDown going 3 hours? Called that one too.
Had that as well.
You yellow rat bastards. But I will say this, perfect time and place. Unfortunate what's going on right now. Could you imagine if Raw was going to be there this Monday? Because it wouldn't happen.
Well, they're going to be in San Jose.
Yeah, but they're moving the Vikings-Rams games.
They are to Phoenix, and San Jose is Northern California, but still, it's still out in California. But LA, they got away with that one.
I want to talk about this for a quick second.
Sure.
Phil brought this up. Other than the commercials, listen, I have premium, and I don't know if it's because of my geographic location, but this is a 100% honest, okay?
Yeah.
I only had WWE marketed ads, and anytime Michael Cole or Pat McAfee or anybody else tried to give an ad read, it was muted. It was muted on that. Huh. I could go, I'm going to take a video later on so that people could see, but I had a Royal Rumble ad. I had a SmackDown ad. I had a shop ad. I don't know what else the hell I had, but that's all I had. I never had a traditional commercial. Never.
I do not have the premium. So I had some ads, but they were general ads, and it wasn't any I enjoyed it because to me, I've watched wrestling. You too. I've watched wrestling for so damn long. I am conditioned to have some commercials unless it's a pay-per-view or PLE, and that's okay with me. Sometimes I need a break to go get a drink or something. Yeah. And sure, it's fun to see a backstage promo that you might not normally see. And I'm sure I'll be thrilled when those things do happen and I'm available to do it. But, the commercials weren't even that bad. And it's nice. No. It was nice that they cut right back in. I'll tell you this. I like traditional commercials more than a picture-in-picture. Picture-in-picture with AEW drives me nuts because they do it at the most important times.
I'm right there with you. The picture-in-picture stuff drives me absolutely up a wall.
They try to get away with it. You could still see the match. Yeah, without commentary that I need to hear to help me describe
Right.
what's going on. It's the main event of the show, the most important time. You couldn't have 15 ads well before so we could get the last 15 minutes free? Come on, you
Right.
do overruns. Can't you get commercial free for a little bit? Come on, guys. So,
Yeah.
so you thought the production overall was a hit with like the drones and everything. You were impressed by that. The seats had little lights on them. I think the Intuit
The
Dome.
building, the
They
building
go
is
to a
state. The
they do a
building state
PLE
of the
there.
art.
It's going to be unbelievable.
Yeah, the building state of the art. They couldn't have picked a better building to go to for the debut episode of Monday Night Raw
Yeah.
on Netflix. It was strategic. It was very smart on them. So yeah, I was all for it. Again, I know the building decently well. We looked at it a couple times. Was talking about getting Clipper season tickets and stuff like that. So we toured the building and it was nuts. That halo, the lights, everything that they're able to do, the capabilities was just absolutely nuts. So yeah, I was very impressed. And, a lot of people were like, oh, this was all hype and no, delivery. And I disagree entirely.
Yeah, I thought it was wonderfully done. And again, if you're a fan of WWE or just a fan of pro wrestling, I don't see how you could watch that and not enjoy it, no matter who you're a fan of. So,
Yeah.
can't wait for the next few episodes and see how they look. They're starting it in January. They're going to lead up to WrestleMania. It's only going to get bigger and better from here. So, I'm here for it. I'm sure you are as well.
Bigger,
Like to
better,
touch,
better, right?
that's right. I will cover two more small things and then we'll dive into questions from those that are willing to ask. First, Drew, Penta should have been this week, maybe. Some people thought it was going to happen this past week. It did not happen. We're going to get it this week, likely. And the other part of it is, oh, he's going to tag with Rey Mysterio. He's going to be bogged down. Okay, it's one match. He's going to be teaming. That's right. Shout out to Corey. Penta is going to be teaming with the greatest luchador of all time, arguably. It's only going to benefit Penta going forward because to the outside fan that doesn't know who he is, hey, he's teaming with Rey Mysterio. He must be good. That's all they need. And then he's off to the races.
Here's the deal with the Raw on Netflix and how I think a lot of people just overreacted. We needed this, we needed that, but this was a feel-good episode. All the faces won, none of the heels won. None of the heels cut a scathing promo on the city, the state, nothing. It was just a happy-go-lucky show. And they gave everybody what they wanted, and they impressed the executives and all that other stuff.
And they've earned to do that. They've earned the right to do that.
If they debuted Penta here, don't get me wrong, the wrestling fans in attendance would be like, "Oh shit!" But a lot of people would be like, "Who the fuck is this?"
And you don't want that to happen.
And the executives would be like, and at the end of the day, that was a show for the executives and the casuals. That was them showing off their shiny toys. Taker, Rock, Triple H, CM Punk, Seth Rollins, Rhea Ripley, blah, 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 John Cena, Hulk Hogan, which was a miss. But you know what? Like, dude, Penta and Gable next week is going to be fantastic. And next week's going to be a regular show, a regular Monday Night Raw with all the bells and whistles. So all the storyline, disciples will get their due. They'll be okay. Storyline suckers.
Yeah. And it went from, oh, I can tag with a legend to now he's on his own. It's going to be more easily seen that to a casual fan that this guy can do it all. Of course, he can be in a tag team, but you're going to see him front and center as a one-on-one singles wrestler with one of the best wrestlers in the world with Chad Gable. And I'm sure they're going to tear the house down and it's going to be off to the races. I mean, we've talked about it before. The merch opportunities, the branding with Penta, the action figures. It's so right there for them. I think it's a great signing and I'm looking forward to seeing what they've got in store for Penta.
I've said it for a while. I want to say it was WrestleMania 35 and we keep going back to that WrestleMania, but I believe
longest WrestleMania ever. My God.
I know. And we left before Ronda won the championship, or Becky. We left right when Becky was about to win, got out of there. Thank God, because I heard it was a nightmare.
It was. And we still met up at the hotel.
Yeah. We watched the rest of the main event on our phones because at that point you still could. And
the main event started after midnight Eastern time.
Yeah. And I was just like, we got to get the hell out of here. We're never going to get home. I think we had scheduled a car service to pick us up at like 12:15 and we were like, we'll make it. That's late enough. And no, it wasn't.
Right. And
so I said it's funny. It was me, Justin LeBar, a friend of mine who will not be named, and Macaulay Culkin and his brother was literally right next to us. And it was awesome. Like sitting next to him. He was a very nice dude to me. Not so much Justin, But well, that's the story for another. He was nice to Justin. I'm just breaking his balls. But I said to Justin, I was like, you know who's somebody I really would like to see in WWE is Penta, because I believe he was with Lucha Underground at that point.
I think so
And
too.
maybe
Yeah.
he was doing stuff with TNA, and I was like, dude, this guy's awesome. Like, he's just awesome. He's different, you know. And I would love to see him in WWE. And here we are. It's like, what, 7 years later, and finally he's going to get the shot in WWE as a singles guy, and I'm here for it.
Yeah.
I am a big fan of Penta, huge fan of Penta, and I think he's got the sky's the limit. Obviously, you know, doesn't have a great ability on the mic, but there's other things that he could do, and there's other people that could do that for him. So.
Yeah, I'm sure he could get a mic guy, and it wouldn't hurt him in the slightest. And I believe, Drew, that was 5 years ago. Well, 6 technically, but 2019 was Mania
Right.
35.
So, and the other thing there with that juice is, you know, WWE is going to market the shit out of Penta's mask, gloves, everything. So they're going to make
it's going to be just easy money. Speaking of easy money, we're going to close out the WWE portion of this with John Cena, his farewell tour. He came out. I love the way he did it. I can't do it anymore. I don't think I've got it. I haven't
the
won a match in
underdog
over 2,000 days. What happens? Does he win his 17th title? Does he win the Royal Rumble?
You know what? I got to stand on business because that's what I've predicted. Could they change it? Sure. Could Punk win the Rumble? Sure. I think Punk is going to go against Seth Rollins at WrestleMania for the World Heavyweight Championship, but I don't think it's your main event. I think John Cena versus Cody Rhodes, the undisputed WWE Championship, is your main event. And you want to know what? I know a lot of people are like, blah, blah, blah. John might not win the Rumble, but he's going to win the Chamber then. And the whole underdog story I get. You could play this out longer. You absolutely could for me, where John doesn't know if he has it, blah, 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 all this other bullshit. But for me, what I would do is there's 36 states. They're not using him for the Rumble, like the build. He's in it. That's all you need. The do will hit, and that's all they need. They don't need John They don't need John to have anything else.
And they sell the Rumble on the match regardless of who's in it anyway. So
you burned one appearance on the Netflix show. Fine. He's got 35 left. Realistically, he could win the Rumble. If he doesn't, he could get into the Chamber. You burn appearance on a Raw announcing he's going into the Elimination Chamber, so that you're at 3 appearances. And then he could win the Chamber, then go to Mania. And then you have him from Mania to SummerSlam and have a decent appearance / run as your undisputed WWE champion. And then we can figure out the rest of the appearances there. That's what I do. I have John in a main event match defending the undisputed WWE championship at SummerSlam. That's what I do.
At MetLife, right?
Yeah, it's not on Long Island, New York. It's in New Jersey at the Meadowlands MetLife Stadium.
That's right. Well, it's 20 years. Like I mentioned earlier, WrestleMania 21. It's 20 years since he won his first world title. I think it'd be apropos as hell to do that. Demolition had their record breaking. Honky Tonk Man had his record broken. You know, some of these records, WWE has the power now. Why can't they put who they want as the guy? They've been calling John Cena the GOAT for a long time now. Why not have him have 17 world titles and let him be number one?
Yeah, this isn't any like breaking news, but I will tell you that WWE has made a better effort into erasing some of the history. They want some of their newer quote unquote stars to be the guys and girls who are holding records. Gunther,
and guys
Cena,
that they can trust,
guys that they can market, and guys that they can sell, and girls that they can sell from. Gunther, Cena, all that other stuff. That's why WWE is changing these records. You know, they could have had Roman beat Hogan, but at the end of the day, they're basically pretending that Hogan's record doesn't even exist. If you look at it,
it's not really a record.
No.
He's just had it for a very long time. Yeah. Bruno has the record and no one's touching that.
Right. So for me, like, yeah, I think John's going to win 17. Where it is, don't know. I would like to see it. If I'm, betting, I'm going to go WrestleMania 41 in Vegas. I think we get Cena, Cody, and I think we get Roman Rock.
I'm going to give you, this will be the last thing I ask you here, Drew, before we open the floor. I'm going to start rattling off some names. I got 5 names for you for potential John Cena matches. I just want to hear your thoughts on, if they'll have the match with Cena, if they don't, if they do, how great would it be, all that stuff. So
Hold on, I'm going to write down some real quick.
Okay, sure. Love dead air on a podcast, don't you?
No. Go ahead. I'm gonna go with CM Punk is one of them. Gotta have that.
Okay, can I? Are you ready for my list?
Go ahead. Let's see it.
CM Punk.
Okay, hold on. Let's see
So
if
what
we
do
can go. We can go tit
what
for
do you-
tat here. Yeah, yeah, has to. It has to happen. They
Okay.
that whole thing was great. Money in the Bank, Chicago. Yes, I'm revisiting it. Cody,
So we're
obviously.
revisiting that. Yeah, Cody Rhodes.
Okay. Yes,
So
absolutely.
you
Cody.
and you
Cody.
think
Cody wants the match, Juice. I mean, I read the lips. I put it out on social media. Cody wants the match. This was WrestleMania 39 when John was doing stuff with Austin Theory. He said, "Hey, if you got more in you, I would love to do what you're doing with Theory with
yeah.
us." And he was like, "Don't
And
know how much I have left in me."
I'm gonna quote one of my favorite people, Drew Baydala, and say, "Miss me with that. You can't have a face versus face WrestleMania main event anymore
That's
because
such
Cody
bullshit.
and John Cena would be astronomical as face versus face. Of course, it would be great for one of them to be heel, but they don't need that at all.
Yeah,
They
miss
don't
me with
need it
that
at all.
shit. Miss me with it.
All right, you ready for the next one?
Sure.
Gunther.
I have it. Gunther right here. That's no BS. There it is, right there.
Yeah. Okay. And what are your thoughts?
yeah.
Do you think that match happens?
Yes, absolutely. Has to. I think, Gunther and John would make great opponents for each other. Gunther's the old school throwback. I want to see it. Absolutely.
Especially with where Gunther is now, he's kind of like a celebrated guy as a wrestler instead of just like a heel that we hate because we know he has great matches and he's more of a kind of a baby face in that regard. He's kind of in the middle there. So
Yep.
I'd like that versus like you said, an old school guy versus Cena, who's very, very old school, I think would be badass.
I'm gonna
Go ahead.
say one that I think it probably shouldn't be on the list because I think
Sure.
it's gonna happen is Rock. I think that should
Oh.
happen.
Okay, we'll talk about that. That's The Rock. I wanted it for so damn long. Rock Cena 3. Why the hell not?
Yeah. But
Yeah,
it's gonna happen. I think
Really?
they wouldn't leave that. Yeah, I don't think they leave that on the table. I would love to see a Styles match. I don't know if that's gonna happen because AJ's got to come back. But I will tell you that I definitely, most certainly, want to see Braun Breaker and John Cena lock up.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that. Again, give me John Cena and Carmelo Hayes.
That works too. Love me some of that.
And I'll tell you this,
Bronson Reed works.
Even if as long as he gets healthy in time by Cena's end of 2025.
Cena and Orton's got to happen too, buddy. You know that's gonna happen.
That was my last name, Randy Orton. They've had this outside of Edge, who's not going to be there for it. Although, if you're going to do one AEW WWE crossover, wouldn't that be amazing? It would be Edge and Cena, but they're not going to do it. So Orton and Cena, I saw them at the 60-minute Iron Man match here in Pittsburgh for bragging rights. Just a legendary feud. Whether you thought their matches were good or not, they carried WWE when it was at its lowest. So I got to give them credit for that.
I was at that. We said Mello and Rock. Phil, we said Mello and Rock.
Maybe he's lagged behind in his stream.
Oh, I would say I was at that. I don't know what pay-per-view was it where they had the Iron Man match and they were doing the 10.
Oh, that was
like that type of stuff.
That was Ziggler and Rollins.
It was in
Ziggler
Pittsburgh.
and Rollins Extreme Rules 2018.
There you go. I remember that.
Yes. So yeah,
right,
I had.
Should we open it up?
Everybody that I had on this little list here, you said, and the last thing I'll mention is even if you can't get some of these guys for one-on-one matches, especially considering your 36-date thing there, as long as they have some sort of interaction in the Royal Rumble, like a face-off, I think you could get a lot of mileage out of that stuff because you get the moment regardless of the match. So
I also want to throw
that.
I also want to throw this out there. A lot of people are like, man, they're gonna put Roman in the Rumble. No. Are they gonna put Rock in the Rumble? No, I don't think so.
You don't think so?
I think we're headed for a tag match. Just saying.
At the Royal Rumble.
I do. I think you need to be careful who you put in the Rumble this year. Depending on
what tag match are we getting?
Well, we're gonna have to wait and see. But I think
some news. Come on.
I think it's Bloodline and Bloodline. I think we could get could we get Rock
and Roman versus
Solo?
Jacob and Solo?
No, could we get Rock and Solo versus
Rock and Roman buried the hatchet, brother. Yeah, so why not? You think he's gonna turn on him immediately?
Listen here, there, Juice Box. I don't want to squeeze all the juice out of your box there, buddy. But I'm gonna tell you this right now. I don't know that Georgia Raw, that Atlanta Raw on the 27th. I think it is, right?
Yeah.
I could be big. Roman's on the show and Rock lives there. Just be careful.
Well, yeah, that's until Raw this past week. That was the last time we saw Rock was in Atlanta for Bad Blood.
Be careful. I don't know. We're
We're
getting
gonna see
closer.
Goldberg at that show. I'll tell you that.
Probably. But I will say that, we get Roman and Rock versus Solo and Jacob. Yeah, you could. You could. And could
all I'm saying is
Rock
that-
turn then? Yeah, he could.
Yes,
Could
that's
Heyman
where you
align
make
with
that
Rock
happen.
then too? Yeah, he could. He could. And that match doesn't need any build, you fucking jabroni marks.
Absolutely no build whatsoever. But man, great talk so far. I think we should open up the floor to anybody that's willing to ask a question.
Go ahead,
Let's do this thing.
First one, go ahead.
Big fan of Liv Morgan. Do you think it was a mistake she dropped the title, and does she have a match at WrestleMania? Hopefully it's, I don't know if I have that full screen. Hopefully it'll be with Becky, not jobbers. Wyatt 6, I believe 316 MMA was trying to say there. Drew, what are your thoughts on that?
Why do people make such a big deal about Liv dropping the championship to a much more polarizing, much bigger star that is Rhea Ripley? I don't have any issue
to complete a storyline that's been 5 months in the making to culminate with a babyface only winning at first episode of Raw on Netflix.
Yeah, so for me, I dug it. Rhea's a star. Taker showed you that. Taker gave her the big old pat on the back, like, hey, this is somebody you should continue to respect and pay attention to. She's a dog.
She should have gone back of the bike, no?
Dude, I was waiting for her to get on the bike. I was like, uh-oh. Is she getting on that bike?
Yeah, that would piss off Dom more, which would be amazing.
Yeah, right. And no, I don't think it's a mistake. I think Liv, did a really good job holding that championship, and her stuff with Dom was fantastic in the Judgment Day. And I think Liv will definitely have a big, high-profile WrestleMania match. Maybe she takes on Trish Stratus. You never know.
I wouldn't hate that. The Royal Rumble's coming up. We're probably going to be on the cusp of seeing some surprises. Charlotte potentially.
Yeah.
So
guys and girls, get your questions in. Now's the time.
When is AJ Styles' deal up? Shout out Scott Steiner. Drew, do you have that information?
Big Papa Pump. I'm pretty sure that Mr. Styles' contract is coming up. I want to say either March or April.
Oh, but this year.
Yes. Yes.
Boy, if that day comes and goes and he is not on WWE TV, they are going to be asking for him at Dynasty or Double or Nothing. I'll tell you that right now. Especially they'll do it before they want to get him at All In, because there's another piece to sell that show. Even though
here's the deal, Damian Steele. Man, Styles has not been on WWE TV since I think Clash at the Castle, right? I don't remember seeing it.
It's been a very long time.
So could he show up? Oh God.
That's right.
I think that Styles could show up in the Rumble, but I'm almost positive his contract is coming up very, very soon here in 2025, if it hasn't expired already.
And I've been wanting him to do something with TNA as they're doing this WWE TNA partnership. It would be the easiest layup to have him work a Bound for Glory or something like that. But
possibly,
seemingly they haven't done it just yet. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Nelson Samuels says, Cena, why did you put the belt on him at Mania when you have a whole year to tell that story about him chasing the belt and winning it at SummerSlam? I will say because they all know and have told everybody that he's done in December. So you're shortening his title reign by default if you have him win it in August. Sure, they could, but it's much easier to digest if he wins it at Mania. Maybe has it at SummerSlam and loses it there or later. But his time literally runs out in December. What are you going to do?
John is that guy. Like, John has been that guy for WWE. And just because John's playing up a story that he doesn't think he has it anymore and he doesn't know and all this other stuff, great. I'm telling you right now, I truly believe that John's going to win the championship at WrestleMania. And I think that's the way to go. I think John deserves it. I think he's going to get it. And they've done everything they possibly could to put the machine behind John for so many years. And 17 is huge. It's a big milestone. John's going to get it. I think WrestleMania is the time and the place. And I know a lot of people are like, John, I don't know if John's going to main event his last WrestleMania. Yeah, I think John is.
I'm so over John Cena putting over people.
It's he did it
for him to win. He's done it. People complain again. Here, the first thing I said on this whole day.
But April is not his final match. It's not his final match.
It's his final WrestleMania match, but people don't read the
and John can lose in December. He can lose in December to whomever he wants in his last match.
Yeah, exactly. That's the other thing. He could pick whoever he loses to.
Yeah.
That guy should ask the question to Cena.
Yeah.
not a question, but if Cena's last match is at TD Garden in Boston, I'm going. Shout out to you, Phil. I think that'd be
that
dope if you could.
works.
Yeah, that'd make a lot of sense. Especially, if he has that deal with if he wins it or loses it near MetLife or has a huge match at MetLife, that's a nice moment to have. But yeah, having your little culmination at TD Garden would make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Phil also says, thoughts on the Malachi Black situation, and how do you feel about what Will Ospreay said after his match with Buddy, which I kind of enjoyed based on the fact that, yeah, maybe Malachi's on his way out, and this is an easy way to establish Buddy and definitely potentially Brody King as tag team, sure, but both guys have a lot of mileage as singles wrestlers, I think, and AEW would benefit from that, definitely. I know you would agree that Brody King is someone that give me a Brody King, Darby Allin world title feud. That's all I need to see.
Yeah, I like Brody King a lot.
He's a dog.
Yeah, I think he's got money written all over him. The Buddy Matthews thing, Buddy is fantastic in the ring. I don't want Will and Buddy as a tag team. Miss me with that.
Well, I don't think they're going to be a tag team. I think he just said that Brody and Buddy could be a team by themselves. They don't need Malachi to necessarily coexist.
Yeah, but he was like, you ever need a partner? Like, I'm your guy and stuff like that. Like,
sure.
No,
well, they could do it to set up a match later down the line.
That was the only thing with
AJ situation.
Yeah, that was the only thing with Kenny and Will. Like, I could see that match happening, which is an awesome match. But like, I didn't like that Will was kind of like helping out two different people to potentially have like maybe a tag match with two different items. No thanks. No, thank you.
Oh, well, see, Drew, you can be critical, but it's in a nice, constructive way. How hard is that?
This is a good question.
Does Cena get his own farewell pay-per-view?
So I want to say this.
First of all, it's a PLE, but go ahead, Drew.
Right. I said this to, I believe it was Blake. Shout out to Blake. I talk to him every day. I love the guy. I believe December 31st is a Wednesday, right? Of 2025. I believe it is. I could be wrong. Let me check. Yeah, it is.
I'll do a fact check.
Okay. So I believe it is a Wednesday. For me, because I'm WWE and I just want to, I just want to twist the knife in AEW as often as I possibly can. I have a John Cena's farewell special on Netflix, and John wrestles his last match on a Wednesday on Netflix and against Randy Orton, puts Orton over. They have a big goodbye, and John says, because it's New Year's Eve, and he says, goodbye, everybody. Thank you. I love you guys. And that's it. And if you don't think that everybody and their mother is going to want to be on that card, it's New Year's Eve. The boys and girls don't want to get the fuck out of here. They'll all want to be on that card, and the rating will be through the roof. Okay. Because everyone's at home watching television, watching the ball drop with those idiots in Times Square who go there and sit there and crap themselves in diapers and all this other stuff. So yeah, I think that's going to happen.
I would be a fan of that. I think it's interesting that you say that, like, maybe they'll start doing those things with Netflix. I know they're going to have Raw at MSG, but could you see some pieces of the house show that they always run after Christmas on at MSG? Stuff like that maybe airing on Netflix in regards to if Cena's last match is not necessarily, quote unquote, on a normal episode of something, maybe they just put that as a special episode of just WWE programming.
Yeah, the thing with like shooting television from New York, and especially the Garden, no matter how you want to phrase it, whether it's a live house show and stuff like that, there are certain things they don't need to do, obviously, and they save a little bit of shekels here and there, but it's still a very cost-heavy show running MSG. Go look at the ticket prices to attend the show. It's astronomical because the building is an arm and a leg to run. That's why they run the Barclays, or they run UBS, or they run, whatever other venue they can that's close to the tri-state area. Shit, WCW ran like Utica and was like, oh, we're live from New York. It's like, dude, get the hell out of here.
Hey, WCW came in WWE's territory and they did fine. They beat them for a long time.
Oh, they're at the Coliseum. I remember they were at the Coliseum. They did well at the Coliseum. I remember.
It's no Norfolk scope, but it's something.
Yeah. Any more questions, guys and girls? This was awesome, Juice, by the way. I think,
oh yeah, Drew.
We'll continue to obviously run these. I mean, over 300 people steady. We're out drawing some heavy competition here, which is big. Obviously, the Fightful people over at Fightful are doing very well today. I didn't know there was a Fightful show, but shout out to everyone, all the boys and girls doing their jobs and trying to.
There's a lot of pieces of this pie to have.
We could all eat. My table, I would love to have everybody at my table and we could all eat. That's what I'm all about. I'm not trying to, Berry competition. I'm not trying to bish off people in 1996, 97. I get what Eric was trying to do. But
Everybody gets a straw.
that's right on the juice box. Where do you think Josh Alexander signs? I think he stays with TNA.
He's probably better off in TNA. I could see him doing AEW and being doing well, but TNA is, I think, a strong suit for him. And TNA is doing well for themselves. So keep your stars.
Random, but I didn't see this.
I didn't see either. Houston Texans Zilla Fatu playoff merch collab was not on Corey's 2025 bingo card. Well,
let's take a look.
Yeah, let's see if we can get a view on that, Drew. What are your thoughts on this?
I don't know. Zilla Fatu's collaborated with the team. Yeah, here we go. Let's see what it is.
Also, Drew, we've had, look, I see 400 plus comments we've had. So, definitely a lot of interaction throughout this show tonight, which has been really nice to see. Again, this is supposed to be collaborations, not competition. We're here to have a good time and a nice discussion with fellow people that enjoy pro wrestling. So,
yeah, look at that. Zilla Fatu reps new playoff merch ahead of Texans Chargers. Okay.
I got the Chargers, though. I don't think Houston has anything left.
I am 1000% with you there. I do not think that I think Los Angeles, the Chargers variety is very well coached, and it's a really good team.
I think they're just beginning with this partnership. No matter where they go this year, and McConkey's great, but give Herbert another weapon and more pieces, and they would just continue to win. Because Herbert with Harbaugh seemingly is a good. When's the news coming, Drew? Is the ink dry?
The ink is dry on one contract, but I'm looking for multiple, so we'll have to wait and see.
Oh, when are we going to know about this contract?
You'll know when you know.
Imminently.
Somebody said, let's see, what do we got? Here we go. Super Bowl picks. I like it. Thanks, Scott Steiner. I love when you integrate football into this, because that's my love.
Hey, shout out to a quick plug for the Juice Box. I just had a Sip Series episode where I interviewed local radio host Donnie Football, and we talked about the crossover between pro wrestling and football, what current football players would be great pro wrestlers, and the history of it with Mongo, Reggie White, Kevin Green, Lawrence Taylor, all that stuff. So love NFL.
I think Mongo and LT were pretty solid crossovers.
Kevin Green was really good if you go back and watch.
Yeah, Reggie I know. White, I get it. Yeah, I get it, but I think LT, like Mongo, with the longevity with Mongo was fantastic.
More Horsemen.
Yeah. Jeez, what I want to answer your question that you had with that guy. What current NFL star would make a good?
We said a lot of like any wide receiver that trash talks, or like Richard Sherman would have been good, but we said,
well, yeah, we're talking about current right now.
The Kelce's, the Watts. Anybody in that realm of like over the top, but tight ends or like big offensive, defensive linemen could really be something.
Well, yeah, but I need somebody who's got a goddamn personality.
Travis Kelce doesn't have a personality. TJ Watt doesn't have a good personality.
Yeah. Hold on, I'm just saying. Let me think of one.
Let me think of one as I Google NFL players, because I can't rattle them off.
No, I'm looking at I'm on NFL.com looking at the teams. I'm just trying to visualize players from each team. I think DK Metcalf is somebody who could have a really good personality with the NFL.
For sure.
And the Bills, no. Broncos, no. Ravens, like Lamar would be good, but he's kind of thin. So I don't, Chargers,
Derrick Henry.
Bucks.
You just mow people over.
Yeah. What would be really good, which is crazy, is Baker Mayfield.
Baker Mayfield is one of my favorite players in the whole NFL, man. I keep telling people he's the Brett Favre of this generation. He gets his ass kicked, and he still goes out there, gunslinger, makes crazy plays when he's not supposed to. I really big fan. At Cleveland, dropped the ball. They had a guy that finally broke a curse. They beat Pittsburgh in a playoff game in Pittsburgh. Nope, not good enough. Get out of here, Baker. And you see what happened to Cleveland. So, sucks.
And I'm looking at the Chiefs, Mahomes. Nah, the Raiders. Their head coach would have been great.
Brock Bowers.
No. Falcons, Panthers, Saints, Rams, Seahawks.
Oh no, wait. Raiders, Max Crosby.
Yeah, and the 49ers, you could have Debo
Oh,
Samuel
Kittle.
works.
What are we talking about?
Kittle
a huge
too.
wrestling
There
fan,
you go.
yeah. He's a
Kittle.
huge wrestling shirt guy.
Yeah, there you go. Kittle literally trains with Penta. There you go.
Yeah, he does the Zero Miedo when he scores.
Miles
touchdowns.
Garrett. Yeah.
Wow. Well,
Oh, look at Corey. DK Metcalf would be a great wrestler. There you go.
Anybody on the Eagles for Corey? T.O. would have been back in the day.
I like Lane Johnson.
Okay. Well, Jason Kelsey was at Mania.
Right.
So it works.
All right. We had another question and we're out of here.
Yeah.
Does AEW have a contract with the Prudential Center in New Jersey? Is that why WWE doesn't run there?
There's an Drew the floor to this. I have no.
There's an exclusivity. No, there's an exclusivity deal that goes into that, so you can't run like within a couple weeks or months or stuff like that. Normally, it's months. I think WWE, the only thing that they have in terms of exclusivity is the Garden.
Yeah.
And that's why they give them television, because the Garden was very pissed off for a very long time, being like, hey, you could either bring television here or we're going to take outside revenue. I don't think WWE, I don't know. I don't think AEW has an exclusivity agreement with the Prudential Center. No, I don't think they have an exclusivity agreement with UBS. So I'm going to go with no. I think the only other building that AEW can't get into in New York is the Barclays.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I think WWE has an exclusivity agreement with the Barclays Center. So that's the only thing.
What AEW exclusivity buildings are there? Daly's Place.
Well, I'm going to give you guys a little bit of, I'll give you guys a little bit of background or news or whatever, since, I think a lot of people don't, talk about this. WWE running the Intuit Dome opened the door for AEW to run the Crypto.com arena, because WWE had an exclusivity agreement with the Staples Center Crypto.com arena. And as soon as they ran the Intuit Dome, they broke that exclusivity agreement, and that opened the door for AEW to jump into the Crypto.com arena, the Staples Center in Los Angeles. And that is why AEW is running it. So the Intuit Dome had a lot of positives to it, but that was one of the negatives for WWE, because they lost that exclusivity agreement. So there you go.
Yeah. That's why you have your spot here on this show. That's why it's Drew in Juice. The ins, the outs, the tickets, the production. I'm just here for.
Question: does WWE do a show in the Tokyo Dome and in Mexico, PLE? I would say Mexico, Italy, for sure going to get PLE
this year. You think?
I would say Mexico probably before Italy, but I would say the Tokyo Dome maybe. But I do think WWE and New Japan might do something.
I think they'll do Japan regardless of where. I don't know if Tokyo Dome, because AEW does stuff, but they're not exclusive, are they? I know they work exclusive, but I don't think it's like WWE couldn't do it.
Any more residencies in the future for AEW? Yes.
This I like. This is why when they did the Dallas thing, it was one of the smartest ideas I feel like they could have come up with. As if they came up with it, but
right.
To do it for wrestling, I know TNA has done that too. They kind of go to a spot, they kind of hang out, they run a bunch of tapings. It's smart. It saves money. You get a filled building.
Yeah.
And they can keep coming back to those spots, but then it opens up other spaces that may not get AEW all the time.
And to that question, AEW has run residencies, so more. Yeah, I think the Manhattan Center. I asked Tony Khan, would you be open to running more shows at the Manhattan Center during the holidays? And he was like, kind of gave me a non-answer because he probably didn't want to spoil anything. I think it's in the cards. I think when they come back for All In, for the Dallas stuff, I think they'll be right back at the Esports Stadium. And AEW has really changed what they've done.
Around that for some Dynamites and Collisions. Okay. I was going to say that makes a lot of sense.
AEW is doing a better job now of also kind of double taping Collision and Dynamite. Like it's Dynamite then Collision, because realistically, when Collision's drawing 2,000 to 3,000 people, at the end of the day, to have a separate show and separate building is not cost effective. So this is a smart move by AEW to have this, all right, we're going to run Cincinnati. All right, we're taping Dynamite. We're going to run Dynamite live, and then we're taping Collision right after it. So it's a smart move on them.
I agree.
Somebody said, who wins the Super Bowl this year?
Oh yeah. Someone said Scott, they did Super Bowl picks and we went off on a tangent. So
yeah, I'm going to go from the
Give
AFC.
us the matchup. Yeah.
I'm going to go with the Bills from the AFC. I think they beat the Chiefs this time. I think they finally get over that hump. And I'm going to go with the Eagles over the Lions. Even though even though I believe the Eagles would play, I don't know how that would work. I think they would reseed.
What?
I don't know. Well, I don't know. Would the
Reseed.
Lions? What I'm saying is, would the Lions take on the Eagles if they won? Would the 1 and 2 meet in the division? If
No.
let's just say the Eagles beat Green Bay,
It
the
can't.
Lions
No,
play?
the lowest seed plays the 1 seed.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So okay, so the only way that would happen is if Green Bay. Yeah, right. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go with the Lions, Eagles in the NFC Championship, and I think the Eagles win. I'm gonna go with Chiefs, Bills in the AFC title game. I think the Bills win. So Bills, Eagles, Super Bowl.
I'm not going to just say this is my pick, but I would not be stunned if the Broncos upset the Bills this weekend. That being said, I'm going to take the Chiefs to defeat the Bills. I think it's going to be same old, but I think it's going to be Lions versus Eagles, and I'm going to take Lions to beat the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. How about that? I think that the Lions should have been in the Super Bowl last year. Their coach could have went up a couple scores and they decided to go for it. And I know that's Dan Gamble's thing, but you gotta take the points when you need them. So hopefully he changes those philosophies and actually gets to the dance. Because if he gets there, I think Aiden Hutchinson's going to play. So having your best guy there.
I agree. I think it's going to be interesting. I think the playoffs are absolutely loaded this year.
Can't wait.
Yeah. All In's the last question here. How many tickets you think All In sells? I'm going to go 20.
What's it distributed for? Like, what's it made for? 40? Like, that's the setup of it?
They won't set it up for 40. I think the highest they'll go is like 35.
So they'll set it up for 35, but how many
if they get the demand? I think right now they're only set up for like 20.
Oh, okay.
So I think they'll get over that. I think it's very possible they get over 25,000.
And you can make 20 to 25,000 look wonderful. Like that's where
in a ballpark, absolutely.
Yeah, I want them to come to PNC Park here in Pittsburgh. It's a gorgeous ballpark.
Don't get me wrong, I love that ballpark. I watched the Mets play there numerous times.
I know we hung out there one time.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
You should come out over the summer. We got nothing going on.
Hell yeah, I love PNC Park. I will tell you, it's tiny, but I dig it.
Come out. We'll grab steak on a stone. Look that up at the North Shore Tavern.
Outside?
No,
outside. Okay.
No, but you get whatever cut of steak you want, and it's an 800-degree stone, and you just cook the steak yourself. It's wonderful. It's right across from the stadium.
See, this is what's wrong with fucking people. Why would I want to sit there and go to a restaurant and cook my own fucking dinner?
Trust me, it's fun. It's a good time.
Shit I ever heard.
Okay, well, okay.
Do they tip me when I'm done?
Man, it's a great establishment, and you'll get there's a lot of great sports stuff in there. I think you'd have a good time. You didn't even go yet.
I would. Here, you know what? I'm gonna come up with a restaurant, and I'm gonna give you a walk, and you got to cook your own shit. And when you're done, I expect you to pay for it, and then I expect a tip. You salty sons of bitches. No, come on. I mean, listen. It's an experience.
Yeah,
I guess we could try.
It's a good time. We'll go. I'm gonna go there for my birthday, I think. So coming up in a couple of weeks.
Phil, I love you, so I'm gonna throw this one in there too. Saturday Night Promotion Poster has Jay. Any sort of idea what that can mean? Here's what I'm gonna tell you. The Netflix executives were very, very impressed with Jey Uso, and I think a big Jey Uso push is on the way because the numbers are staggering for him and what they did. So yeah, I think it's coming.
I've been saying it, and I know it interferes with Cena and Cody or whatever, but I was hoping for Jey Uso to win the Royal Rumble, and let's get that Jey Uso versus Cody Rhodes one-on-one for the world title. I think that'd be a fun story. They could play off their time as tag champs and their great press conference shtick. And, I think it'd be a fun there's another face versus face battle, but I think is going to cause a lot of havoc in regards to any Jey Uso plans for 2025.
Penn State back on top for all you.
I know. I was having a panic. I was having a panic attack there because I shut the game off because there was a glare, and then I saw that they were all of a sudden down after being up 10-0. So I had to turn it on. So they scored. So I have to keep it on now.
All right, everybody. Thank you very much. We went 2 hours. I figured we'd go an hour. We went 2. So we're officially your 2-hour guys. So we appreciate it. Thank you for all the love and support. Juice, tell everyone where they can like, subscribe, and follow you.
Yeah, I mean, if you guys enjoy what you hear here and, you want to listen to me solo, just ramble on about current wrestling, WCW, ins and outs of anything in regards to pro wrestling, or hear me interview those that have had any sort of pro wrestling in their lives, which is my personal favorite piece of my show, The Juice Box, Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts. Every Friday, there's a new episode. I think this week it'll just be Drew and Juice, this first episode. We're going to throw that up in the feed so you guys can listen to this if you missed it and didn't get to catch it live. So yeah, check me out there. And of course, on Twitter at Juicy Steen. Shout out to Drew, though, for having this thing and coming up with this. And he reached out to me, and I think this is a fun little deal we got going here. We'll see how it goes going forward.
Yeah. I listen, it's always fun just kind of doing this. And I knew nothing of what Juice was going to ask me. And I was thrilled with the questions. And that's the way I like it. I like to keep it 100% authentic and organic. And that's what this was. So shout out to Juice for the questions. Good job with everything here tonight for all you guys showing up and showing out and asking. I mean, there were over 400 comments. We have over 400 people watching. So thank you for that. I'm at Andrew Vidal. It's at the bottom of the screen right here. If you guys want to follow me on X, go for it. I thank you for all the love and support. The YouTube channel that you're watching this, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, share it, tell a friend.
Yeah.
We'll be back with more. Juice, enjoy your night. Go Penn State. Thanks, guys.
Oh, yeah. We are.
You are what? What are you,
Penn
Juice?
State. That was Drew and Juice. A special collaboration between Final Bell Media and the Juice Box. Make sure to listen to Drew and Juice wherever you listen to podcasts.